Grand Rising, Grand Rising.
Grand Rising, Cleopadra Sophia the Bodhi. Nice, I said it right.
Yes, you got it. Although it can be said both ways. How are you doing?
Doing great. I it feels like it's Friday. It does not feel like a Tuesday.
Oh my gosh. It definitely feels like Friday. Like,
Time has been just all over the place, especially with this date. What is it? Daylight savings?
mm-hmm.
It's like 4 p.m. and it's already dark.
Yes, but daylight savings is actually really good. And people would freak out if they didn't have it. Long term, it's not if you're in a place where you don't get constant sun like Arizona, it would not be healthy because the sun changes the position in the sky. And I'm one of the only people that's like, if they get rid of daylight saving, that's going to be the end of a lot of people because people don't understand how time works. Like for me, it feels like Friday because I feel like I've done 5 days worth of work already. Not necessarily because it's getting darker earlier, but just the sheer amount of information
Mm.
that's coming through as problems are being solved like almost faster than the whole question is being formed. Like this is an incredible time. So when we shift into the darkness, we're supposed to embrace the darkness. Like when we move forward in time or back to regular time, standard time, we get more light at night and people embrace that just fine. But people are always like freaking out over embracing the darkness. It's like, I don't know, it's very weird.
Yeah, they could get depressed and all
Yes.
sorts of stuff. But yeah, I agree for sure, definitely with the time definitely changes things significantly. And as a result, it does feel as if like I mean, just this week, it feels like I've done so much and it's just Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's just I can't believe it. It's like I've lived a whole week. I mean the full moon, new moon. The new moon is on Thursday. And it's basically pretty much the last day, one of the last days of Scorpio season. And I would say this is like the first Scorpio season in years that just flew by. If it usually when it comes to this time of year, and I think this is what the people who aren't doing the spiritual work are feeling. Usually when it comes to this time of year, it is like everything grinds to a halt and your life just moves in super slow motion. But I definitely don't feel that this year,
Yes, it feels a
especially compared
lot.
to other like
Uh-huh.
year, like even just compared to last year. This time felt like pulling teeth, and it's like, no, we're already into Operation Holly Job.
Hello? I don't know if it seems like you got cut out. I can't hear you.
Okay, so my Wi-Fi randomly cut off mid sentence. Hello, can you hear me? What?
Yes, yep.
It says I'm co-host.
Interesting.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh my goodness. Come on, man.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
That was weird.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes,
You can
I
hear
can
me?
hear you just
Okay.
fine. That was okay. Yeah. my microphone was on, but okay, so I don't know. Okay, obviously this is not a topic they want us to discuss. So the shenanigans have
Well, I
been
will say
begun.
that the internet has been very well. So there was some outage, right? Some internet outage
Oh
earlier
yeah.
today, and from that, like my phone was I was trying to call someone and it was like just not going through.
Oh,
I tried to use a website a while, not too long ago, maybe like 2, 3 hours ago, and it didn't work. I just pulled it up and it works now. But yeah, there's something going on with the technology where it's like really today specifically is acting really wonky. But what you were talking about with the Holly Jolly operation, I agree. Where now last year around this time, actually like October, November, I was probably averaging like 4 to 5 hours of sleep a day,
oh
and
my
just
gosh.
the it was like the crypto group where I literally had
Oh
people
right.
working 24/7 on the things that we were doing. Um, but it's interesting because this time around, like I'm in the opposite where I'm like not talking to anybody or like barely anyone. Um, I'm really just doing like just focusing on really going within and
Right.
doing that work that needs to be done. And as a result, the time just feels very different in a way that I have not ever felt winter in this way. Because
Mm.
I'm like my sleep schedule is in a way where I am up basically all of the night, and it's been this way really, I would say the last few months. I'm up probably until 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6, 7 a.m. And then I
Oh my
sleep
gosh.
until like noon or 1 p.m. So it's like there is no daylight for me. It's like I have just 2, 3
Mm.
hours of daylight, and it's night the whole time. So it's like so it's almost like I'm kept in this nighttime type of vibe because there is not a lot of light.
Wow, that's okay. So let me bring Diana back up because that's what I was saying when everything went wonky. I reviewed my videos on Diana and I sent you the link where I talk about this. And so, what was that? 2 years ago, we were working with Diana very, very heavily. And you brought her up in the last talk, but I really couldn't remember because I've worked with so many different pantheons between then and now. I couldn't remember exactly what was going on with her. But Diana is basically Artemis. And so um with Diana in the Artemis energy, Artemis being Cancer, we just had this year we had Mars retrograde in Cancer for like all of like 6 months. It was like one of the longest retrogrades, and then coming out of the retrograde, it was hugely long. And now we have Jupiter retrograde in Cancer. And so um Artemis, Diana as Artemis is related to Zeus. Of course, so like I said, we have Jupiter, which is Zeus's energy, retrograde now in Cancer, which means Zeus and Artemis are like working together. And this retrograde of Jupiter in Cancer goes all the way until March the 10th. This is a hugely long retrograde, like hugely long. And then it comes out of this is going to be crazy. So I understand, like, this is kind of like what's going on. When it comes out of retrograde, and well, actually, when it goes into Leo, which is Apollo, which is Michael energy, that's going to be on July the 1st. So right before our 250th anniversary of America, that's when Michael is going to be resurrected onto the scene. So we'll have to talk about Michael some more later. but now I want to focus on Diana. So this whole concept of Diana, she is the goddess of the night. She started out as like this Lilith energy, which is basically subconscious, deepest, darkest desires. What else would they say about Lilith? Like the queen of the demons, like she birthed all these entities and they weren't all positive. And that's kind of like where the Diana energy started. But then it evolved into this goddess of the hunt. In the maiden, the mother, the crone energy, it's the mother energy. So like Lilith was like the maiden energy, and Diana is like Diana is more like the crone energy, and Artemis is like the mother energy or something like that. They kind of like the energies all go together because they're all parts of the divine feminine, but it really depends on what's in your chart, how you interact with this energy. So I had said in my videos that Sophia, which is where I take my name from, this entity that's called wisdom, is Diana. And so I did a whole thing. Sophia is Diana. I went into extreme detail on how I came to this conclusion. Um, but that she was one of the first entities that we really worked with and really came into alignment with. So now that Jupiter is going into retrograde in Cancer, now it's basically like we are almost like being reintroduced to this aspect of the divine feminine. And Jupiter almost always goes into retrograde around this time. Now, I have Jupiter in retrograde in my chart. So obviously, it actually, I think it moves 11. Is that Jupiter or is that Saturn? Either Jupiter or Saturn moves forward in its retrograde cycle by 11 days every year. So it's a very, very no, it's Saturn that does that. Jupiter's retrograde is almost always around the same time because Jupiter only spends 1 year in a sign and Saturn is a little bit different. So now that Jupiter is in retrograde, but it's in retrograde in Cancer, this is the bringing together of Zeus and Artemis energy. Now, the only time, not the only time, but one of the main stories we have about Zeus and Artemis interaction is when Artemis tried to fight Hera, and Hera whooped her ass with her own weapons. Okay, because that's what happened. She beat her with her own weapons. And then Artemis goes to cry at her father's feet because she literally got beat up by her own weapons. And this is the kind of energy that we're going to be going through this retrograde cycle. So it's no coincidence that basically, and then we have a Cancer full moon. It's actually going to be on January the 3rd this year. So this is all energy that's leading up to this Cancer full moon. So what we started at the Cancer new moon, or the start of Cancer season specifically, because I put out a long video about that. But what we started at Cancer season is going to, well, not started, but what was revealed around Cancer season is going to culminate by January the 3rd. So just going back, what was happening at the start of Cancer season? Well, we had the Juneteenth that the government ignored. That was one thing. And then after they ignored it, and basically I condemned them, that's when we had that 4th of July thing happen with all those kids that perished tragically, and their parents were all what? They were in the south of France doing some weird ritual. So like that story never really got an ending. They just kind of like stopped talking about it. But you don't have a camp that costs $5,000 a week with a 3-week minimum session, and kids just die and the story just goes away. So by the start of the year, expect that story to kind of pick up or come to some kind of conclusion, because a full moon, we count our cycles from full moon to full moon, stuff that's on the outside. The new moon is the midway point. It's when the energy is kind of confusing and it's all together. So what's happening now with this Jupiter in retrograde is that it's clearing out, because when a planet is in retrograde, it's close to us. So right before when Jupiter went into retrograde, which was on the 14th, we had all of these interactions between Jupiter and all these other planets. And the way that I talk about it in the form of a story is Jupiter is collecting information, trying to figure out what was going on. Because here I am, screaming out like, hey, no, this stuff doesn't make any sense. They're not doing what they're supposed to do, blah, 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 blah. And then you have these other entities, which is what the title of this talk actually is about. They're on the other side saying, nah, everything's fine. We got all the paperwork. We checked all the boxes. Everything's going great. And it's like, okay, so now Jupiter in Zeus energy has to come in and decide who was telling the truth and who was lying. So this is why information, and this is probably why you're spending so much time in the dark, because this is a time of renewal and rejuvenation for your personal Zeus energy. So this would be, if you're like just looking at your chart, it would be wherever your Jupiter is in your chart, but also what house Cancer is in, because those two things are going to determine how this energy shows up in your chart. But one thing I will say about Diana, Sophia, so what I was talking about in my video is that Sophia is a very intellectual entity. Like, the way they talk about Sophia is not something that the common man can actually connect to. But when they talk about Sophia as Diana, Diana is the people's princess. That's why you had a Princess Diana who was in that energy of the people's princess, because that's who Diana was. There's a story about Diana in the Bible, and in the story, Paul or Peter, one of them, they go to this Ephesus, and they're trying to basically preach the gospel in Ephesus, and the people basically run them out of town. They are yelling at the top of their lungs for like 2 hours. Diana is the goddess of Ephesus, like literally for 2 hours. And so eventually the judges come that are over that town, or the whoever come, and they tell Peter and Paul, y'all need to mosey on along. Y'all know these people work with Diana. So just go ahead on. The story is in Acts. It's totally unhinged, because it's like basically the only story where they went to try to evangelize somebody and got kicked out. And it wasn't they got kicked out by the judges or the elites or whatever. No, the people were like, get out. We work with the divine feminine here. We don't want to hear about your divine masculine. We don't care about him. We're working with the feminine. And literally they kicked them out. And there was no resolution to that. They just kicked them out and it was over. And so like that is kind of like what this energy is. It's like, okay, now you have the divine feminine in her Diana form coming to the king, which is Zeus, and saying, hey, these people are telling the truth. Like, these entities are telling the truth, because when people try to evangelize people to Jesus, right? Jesus is an intercessor. He is a middle person between us and the creator. And so because it don't work like that, Jesus assigned Mary or the Theotokos to be the actual intercessor. But think about what the Pope just did. He said that he said that Mary is just Mary, Jenny from the block. She's nobody. So the Pope, in his extreme stupidity, removed the Theotokos as our intercessor, and here comes Diana, because Diana's always been there. Diana is the people's princess. And so now we don't have to, I mean, not that we're not worried about the Theotokos, because it doesn't matter what the Pope says, he's not in charge. But what he has done is he has released Diana onto this planet to work with the people. That was, again, I told you, I was like, watch, within a week it's going to be something about Diana. I wasn't looking for this. I just kept thinking, man, it was nagging me. It's like, no, something is going on with this. No, he has released Diana onto this planet by saying, no, 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 Mary's just some Jenny from the block. We don't need her. Okay, now you got Diana. And there's nothing that the church can do to interfere with people who work with Diana. So I had made I had gotten this recipe for pendulums. Now I've got another recipe for pendulums. So now I'm noticing this is a pattern. When this time of year comes, this Diana energy gets extremely active, especially like after, but in this time of daylight savings, she gets extremely active in energy. Because when I looked at the dates on my other videos, the first video I made about Diana was in February of 2023, but the second and third video was like in December of 2023. And it was all in daylight savings, like all when the time changed. And so here I am again, getting ready to make a new batch of pendulums. It was some information we wanted to know, so I'm gonna talk about this golem thing. But all of this stuff is coming in because, hey, they said they didn't want the Theotokos. Okay, so now we got Diana. And so I encourage people to take a look at some of my videos on Diana so that you can get a more cohesive understanding of her energy. But just understand she is the divine feminine of the darkness. Like she is the people's, your inner person, like that, like mother energy that you need to basically put yourself back together. That's what Diana is. That's what she did for me. I could not be who I am without having gone through my experience with Diana. It was Diana that basically gave us the information that we need to take our meditation seriously. She is the one who told us that. Like, that didn't come from like some thing that we was it was that was Diana. And so she, like I said, she has multiple forms, but like the long and the short of it is she is the embodiment of the darkness. And as we enter this season where things are dark, this is when her energy picks up. And it's amazing that, like, I made those videos in 2023. So last year the energy was as such that I didn't pick up her energy last year. It's very weird. It seems like something was going on in 2024. Um, and I don't know whether it was protection or whether it was selection. Like, I selected not to engage her, but her name didn't really come up last year. And that's weird. So here we are in 2025, an odd number year, and her energy is back up again. So I don't know if it was the year number. I don't know if it was, I was really trying to dig down on this calendar information. I also think that I was doing a lot with the new moons and the full moon. So I might have just missed her energy because I was so focused on, oh, and last year was the election too. So I was kind of like distracted by all of that because we put all of our energy into like having a fair election. And so I think I just missed the boat with when her energy started to come in. But I have to ask my friend to see. But her energy is really, really important, and it's about to get really active because of what the Pope did.
Wow. So you mentioned that the feminine is experiencing, there's an aspect of feminine that is being experienced. Um so the feminine energy is like coming out to play in a very powerful way. One
Right,
of the ways being through
right,
Diana. Um we've talked about, we've talked about basically like putting pressure on the divine feminine, on the feminines, on feminine energy, really. It's not just women, but feminine
right,
energy in general, with an emphasis on women to get their shit together, to prioritize themselves, to love themselves. I would say in general, like, we've put more pressure on women than on men, at least in the spaces
right,
that we've had. So it's interesting that, with all that said, now here comes Diana to, and so I guess it's, so we do all this work. The women are feeling it because I see it. Like, I'm seeing it in my reality. I'm seeing it online. Like, I'm seeing that it's women are basically being called to, it's game time. It's game time. Like,
right,
you're ready
right,
to perform, get going. And if you're not, if you're not awake, the the relationships, the friendships, the job that one is a part of, the company, whatever it might be that the individual people are in their lives, is pressuring them to get ready to perform. So I guess
Right.
it's what, based off of that, like what are women and what is specifically the feminine energy being compelled to do and influenced to do during this period where Diana is really like coming alive.
What I see is, well, or what I'm experiencing is I'm being compelled to finish a job. Like to finish the job. Like, okay, so I can move into this subject of one nation full of golem. Okay. So when I first started um making videos, or after, and I first started, but back in 2022, I told you I had a dream where in the spirit realm they was all chanting Trump, 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 and trying to basically coerce me to give this message about Trump. And I was like, nah, I'm not giving this message until um, I have protection, because I understood that you have people like Hillary Clinton out here who is, or Kankles as I call her, um, who is out here basically somehow ritually sacrificing people without their knowledge. You know what I mean? And I was not willing to put myself or my family or my friends in jeopardy to deliver a message from who knows who in the spirit realm, and they wasn't providing no protection. Because I knew that I was unprotected. I didn't know how unprotected um, that I was, but I knew there was a basic lack of protection in my reality. So I had said, and I have said many times that I'm not saying nothing about Cankles or any of those people until I have some protection. And so where does the talk of the golem come in? So I had sent you the TikTok video where the lady was reading about these Rothschilds, and the first one specifically, and basically she read a part that really stuck out to me. And it was basically about how this other guy had made the Rothschild a straw man, a man of straw. And so, if you're familiar with the paperwork process, the whole, all of that stuff, you know what a straw man is. But let me like just give you a brief explanation. When you're born, right? They create a straw man when you're born. So this is like why I said it's one nation full of golem. They don't just have one like golem person in in a rich family running around here. They turned the entirety of this nation into golem because they created a straw man for each and every individual as soon as they was born into this country. And now they do this all over the world because the birth certificate process all over the world is the same. A birth certificate is not a certificate of birth. A birth certificate would be something that certifies that you were born. A certificate of live birth certifies that you're dead. So you have a certificate of live birth, and then you have a certificate of death. Not a death certificate. When you rearrange the words, you actually create something different. So when children are born in hospital, they you cannot leave the hospital until you name that child. They will not allow you to leave the hospital until you name that child. Now if you're smart, you will change the name of that child within the first month. So that's something we have to talk about at a later date and time. But when you name the child, they issue you a certificate of birth, not a birth certificate. And so it says birth certificate, but it also says certificate of birth. So just like like I say in the Bible, they have one version of the story of Jesus that's on the positive. But if you are of a lower vibration and you read the story of Jesus, you read it totally different, i.e., the difference between dying on the cross and dying, not dying, but giving up the ghost and leaving your body on the cross. These are two totally different things. But if you are of a low frequency, you will see, oh, Jesus died on the cross for my sins. That's not what happened. Jesus gave up the ghost, which is not the same as dying. And yes, he was on the cross, but his body didn't stay there. So there's two different stories being told at once based on your vibration, your frequency. And that's the same thing that happens with these documents that they issue. So they create a straw man when they issue you a certificate of live birth that they then bundle with other birth certificates, and they basically put them on the open market and trade on them. That's one way that they do it. Then they issue you a social security number, where Social Security is supposed to manage your security assets that are assigned to you at birth. But instead of them managing your security assets, they literally kill you and steal your assets. And then, like, in order to get anything out of the system, you have to then put into a system which was already paid due to the nature of you being born. So there's a lot. They do and that's just two things. Like, there's a lot of stuff that they do when they create a straw man. But the gist of it is, a live man cannot be numbered. You can't. John saw the number that no man could number. A live person cannot be numbered. The only thing they can number is the only thing you can count, you can number, is entities that are no longer alive. There's a book of numbers, and it talks about how they did all of this counting of the people, but all of those things, they weren't counting. It's not what you think it is. So that's another, again, I don't want to go off on too many tangents, because the point is, you are not a number. You cannot be quantified by a number. Your name is supposed to be the proof that you're a living person. That's it. They're not allowed to give you a number. So on your birth certificate, it's numbered. So therefore, they give you a number, and every number is a security. Okay. So that's why the Social Security Administration is supposed to be managing the securities assigned to you, the living person, but instead, they do other stuff that they're not supposed to do. So they create a straw man. And that's what this country is built. It's overrun by strawmen. So I have said before that, and these strawmen are golem. They use the woman used a term called golem magic, which I had never heard before. So of course I did a little bit of digging, and I found a book that talks about golem magic. And basically, it's a lot of things that I've been saying that everybody knows, but nobody has put it into this perspective of how can a golem be moral. There's no morality in golems. The reason why this guy created the Rothschild golem was to do the things that he, as a living person, could not do rightfully. So he created an entity that could do it without it being karma brought back on him. And in exchange for doing those things, this gentleman, the Rothschild, he gained a lot of money. And if you look at the video a little closely, it very much is similar to the story of Epstein. Like, it's basically the same exact story. He worked for this guy. Lex Wessner, who Epstein worked for. He managed his money. He had no discernible skills, but he had bad habits. And so literally he fed his bad habits, and that was how he engaged in his golem magic, which again, we'll have to talk about what the magic is a little bit later once I get through the book. But I just wanted to lay this like foundation out, because if you understand that the way that they are, the way that they systemically remove the morality from this country, is because they fill this country full of gold. And then, like, for example, you hear things like about the orphan trains and all of this stuff. These probably weren't orphans. These were probably children born to individuals who sold the children for food. So because in the Bible it talks about that in Nehemiah, which we talked about a few weeks ago, the people were having to sell their children for food to these quote unquote Jews. That's what it says in the Bible. And so why would we think that that would have been a one-time occurrence? So when they sold their children, they shipped these children off to other places so they could perpetuate them as golem, like literally from a child. So another thing that a conclusion that I've come to is that the Willie Lynch letter is actually how you make a golem. Like it's the instruction. What Willie Lynch did is he literally wrote a speech on how to turn your plantation into a golem factory, because it wasn't just that the quote unquote slaves were turning to golem, but the overseers too. Everybody who worked on the plantation was a soulless entity. The way that he told them to do it, they gave up their souls in the process, because you can't commit violence against somebody. If you see too much violence and you commit too much violence against somebody, you lose your soul. It literally robs you of your soul. And so I think that Willie Lynch letter that we canceled in 2022 was literally a modern instruction manual for golem creation, um which is horrible. Like, but this is what the Willie Lynch letter was the first contract we canceled. We didn't cancel anything else before the Willie Lynch letter. It's the very first thing. And I can see, so that's what I mean by finishing up that cycle of what we did with that. Now we see what happened with the dumb diverses that played out, but we never saw what happened with the Willie Lynch letter and the Haitian independence document. We didn't really see no resolution from those two documents, and those was the first two documents that we canceled. And so with this understanding of how the golem operate, I think we're seeing a resolution to that whole story. So that is to say, we think that it's not Hillary Rodham. We think it's Hillary Rothschild, and that's what she does. She uses golems. She creates all these weird golems with this weird stuff she be doing, this weird magic. And like that video of the girl with the bird beak and the bones, those are probably just some of her golem that were created. These kind of weird, like, people who think that this stuff is normal that they're involved in. Like, I think that they're just golem that was created by her and her crew at this point. And once you know what somebody is and what magic they're working with and what God they're working with, you can protect yourself. So a lot of the protection comes from Diana. And the way protection works with Diana is like this. Like, you when it's dark, right, you spend a lot of time working with her, coming up with a plan, tailoring the plan, getting like protection devices, so on and so forth. Like it's real. Every time during this season I get new, like, physical things to use to protect me. So in 2024, at this time, that's when I found out about the barley, the wheat, and the sorghum powder that you can mix together to use to protect you. And so in my body wash, my protection body wash, that's what I have. The sorghum, the barley, and the wheat flour or powder. And I also put cricket powder, because the cricket powder protects you from the Muslims who practice this weird among other things, but those are the main four ingredients, because they practice this weird plant magic, and the cricket powder will protect you from that. So these are the kind of things that I found out when in this darkness. I always get some new kind of physical protection when working with her. So that's how she operates. She will equip you with the physical protection you need for when the sun comes back up. And a lot of these entities can't hide. Right now, they're also in hiding because, well, no, they're coming out of hiding because they flourish in the darkness. Like, they don't like the light. Like, so if you notice, when we go to daylight savings, these people are like freaking out because now it's more sun in the day, it's more sun in the night. Like they can't really, there's nowhere they can hide. You know, there's nowhere they can hide. So they behave very erratically when we're in standard time. But we're in daylight savings. Like today, they had this big dinner at the White House with MBS, and it's like I thought they were building a ballroom. Where are they even having a dinner at? It's just so, it's a lot of weird stuff. So I'm just like, okay, I see. But all of these people are now out. This is their time to shine because they love the darkness. And if we embrace the darkness the way they embrace the darkness, because they're working with the negative version of the divine feminine, which I call like mommy Leviathan, or like this little mommy Wata, Sybil, evil Sibyls. Like they're working with those weird marine spirits that are bloodthirsty. That's what they're working with. So this is their time to shine because they're shining from the light of the moon. And this is also could be a time that we shine if we embrace the darkness. And so that is a real shift in thinking, which is why I don't complain about daylight saving. I'm glad to have more of my time in the dark because to me it is a time of rest. When the sun is shining, you got to be on, you have to be ready, but when it's nighttime, it's basically like more like a Sabbath. And so in the video I made about Diana, I talk about what they call the witches' Sabbath. And I only bring it up to say that the way the quote unquote witches celebrate Sabbath is by like getting naked and running around on a hill. And so it made me think of your whole like toe walking thing on the hill because the hill represents Diana. That's what it said in the book. That's what that's what they believe it represents Diana. So that's another. So by you going out and doing the toe walking on the hill, you are actually connecting with Diana.
Okay, interesting. Wow. Um, okay, so and it's interesting because I have definitely now looking back, um, winter time, like fall winter time, when there is more darkness, I do connect much deeper with the darker aspects. But in the past, I wasn't really open to it or embracing
Right,
of it because like I was in the light and I thought that the dark
right,
was bad. And I just was
right,
did not want to get involved in whatever that was over there because I just assumed, well, if I go into the darkness, like I'm gonna be a bad person. Like something bad is gonna happen.
right,
Like I'm gonna fall prey to, not that I'm gonna be bad, but it was like there's for me it felt like there was no need to be dark. Then
right.
earlier this year, um, there's um, there's a specific individual that I follow on TikTok. His name is Black Magician. He was talking about that there's no such thing as like there's no such thing as like basically just talking about the fact that it's important for us to embrace the darkness and not make it out to be a boogeyman, not make it out to be like
Right,
this horrible thing and this bad thing, and instead we should be embracing it, integrating it. When he spoke those words, instantly I was like, oh shit, obviously this is what I have to do. Like now
right,
it's time for me to embrace the dark. And so the last few months, I would say maybe the last 6 months or so, I have been opening myself up to the darkness. And what has happened the last like week or two is every time it gets dark, which, is at like 4 p.m., 5 p.m. latest, it's, I wouldn't say it's not anger that comes about, but it's a very refined, alchemized, dark energy where it's
mm,
almost like, it's like um most darkness. is people are acting from their emotions. So, oh,
Right.
this person did me wrong, or oh, this person lied to me, or oh, the system this, the system that. So we act from those feelings, and then we direct the darkness into it. Like we do whatever it is that we do to make ourselves feel better from those feelings. Now, that's a very peasant way of going about the darkness. And this is what even the quote unquote powerful people, this is what they do. Someone fucks them over, and they're just gonna do some dark shit onto them to try to take them out. But what a royal
Right.
does, a royal that um, wields both the light and the dark, is it's not about what we feel. It's not about our emotions. It's not about whether someone did us wrong or this or that. No, it's about what God commands us to do with those powers. And specifically in this season, with the darkness. People got to get
Mm.
spanked. They got to get put in their
Right. Oh
place.
yeah.
The order has to be uh, brought forth. And order, really, for the most part, is only brought forth in the dark, with the dark, working
Right.
alongside the darkness. And it's very
Right.
interesting because when we think of Jesus and the church, religion, and the Bible, at least how they present it to us, it's always light. Light. At least that's kind of the programming that they push us. It's light. It's
Right.
light. It's light. Just look at Jesus. Be good. Be good. Be good. But then as I began to embrace the dark, my powers grew. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's substantially parabolic. Everyone that dares try to come at me with this dark, negative, misaligned, distorted energy is getting taken out. And it's not because I'm like, "Oh, you did me wrong, you're getting taken out." No, it's there is a um, repercussions for actions. And when you come at
Right.
people that are protected by the Most High, when you come at people that are doing the work to serve God, and we embrace our darkness, the dark energy within us, now it's we don't have to wait for somebody to come and protect us. We are our protection. Like, we are the the one that, not necessarily that we're the one that are handing out the judgment, but more that, like, the judgment follows who comes at us. And the more we embrace the darkness, the faster this shows up. We don't have to wait years for people to get put in their place. We don't have to wait decades. It happens instantly. So when that happens, imagine someone's talking shit about you and they get hit. And every single time they talk shit about you, they get hit. What are the chances that they're going to keep talking shit about you?
They'll
Basically
probably
zero.
stop.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
exactly. But notice that we never, at least for me, I never had that. I just let them keep talking shit, talking shit, talking shit. Now, anyone dare talk shit about me, they get hit. And I don't have to even
Right.
be aware of it. But that's just how it is. So I think as we begin to consciously embrace the dark and honor it and understand that it is extremely important, just as the light is, to integrate the two, and not do it from a place of our ego, not do it from a place of as a peasant, but doing it from a place of a royal in managing reality, commanding
Right.
reality. We can't be out here being the ones that are commanding reality and picking and choosing. Oh, this person gossiped about me back in high school, I'm gonna take them out. Just the grudges, the this, the that. Like, we're running an empire. We gotta elevate ourselves to that level. So
Right.
so just some thoughts.
Everything has to be very nuanced, and so that's why I was explaining about the different versions of Diana, because you have the, like I said, Diana as Lilith, where What did they say about Lilith? She was birthing like 100 babies, 1,000 babies a night. And that's what all of these different dark spirits are, because they had to be born from somewhere. They did. Again, there is no like the way that they try to describe it, where they take out the feminine in the birthing process and the creation process. And so they came from her. But one thing it says in that book, which is it's called Aradia, the Queen of the Witches or something like that, which Aradia is actually Diana's daughter. But because Aradia is the one who comes to the earth and teaches this quote unquote witchcraft to the humans. But what the witchcraft was that she taught was she taught humans how to be free of these oppressors. She taught humans how to not be enslaved to these oppressors. And so when you add that part into it, then you understand a little bit better what's going on. They wanted to keep humanity as slaves, as I have previously mentioned. They wanted human slaves. And so the only way the humans could not be enslaved by these people is that what? A serpent came and told them, hey, did you know you were naked? Did you know you were naked? Just like he said to Eve. And she's like, oh, I didn't know I was naked. What is that? What are you talking about? Of course you can eat from that tree. Why would anyone tell you that? Does it look good? Does it smell good? Yeah, you can eat from that tree. That's the kind of, it's like, again, awakening people to the truth. I had this conversation with my daughter earlier. We have to confirm reality, and perception is reality. So I was talking with her about how, like these people with the pronouns and the blue hair and all this stuff, they created a bad image for themselves. And because there's this bad image of them, it's better to avoid that image and not like buy in that image because an old white man told you that that image was bad. Because this is how it works. When someone tells you, hey, don't do that, you would naturally rebel against it and do it anyway. So I'm like, but that's the propaganda. The propaganda is they want to label all the people who dress this way as, an unhinged person so that they can get you on drugs, because the golem are basically, how do I even say this? They are controlled through drugs. And so if they can take a otherwise healthy person and get them to self-select on being on drugs, any drug really, but just in general being on drugs, then that's a person that they can control. They can backdoor into your mind and control you. So I remember we talked about this a lot of times. I've been talking about how, you know these entities can jump from person to person. So once they figure out that you are having a conversation with somebody who they're trying to touch, like attack, they will just jump into that person and have that person attack you. And so I was wondering though, like, how are they able to do this? Well, they do it through the drugs that the people take. And so if they're taking some kind of prescription drug, or think about all of these people, like now they're talking about Thomas Crooks being a transgender, furry, whatever, all of these things, that's because these people are on drugs. And so if they need them to commit a crime, they can just jump right into their energy, jump right into their auric field. In that lady, she has a video where she's talking about how these people who create the golem, they put tags on them and in their aura. So if you've got a tag in your aura and it comes into, you know you come into contact with somebody that they're trying to reach, that tag gets activated. They find out, hey, you're near X, Y, and Z person, and they send you to do, I mean, you may just say something nasty to them. You may try to rob them. You may try to beat them up. You may kill them. Like, there's any number of things that can happen if you have this certain specific like tag in your auric field. And so what Diana is the Akashic records. So she literally like gave her body to create the stars and the solar system and all of that. So when you're trying to figure out how to break out of these things, that's the proper use of astrology, is to figure out how to break out of this whatever cycle that you're in, because your Akashic records is your birth chart with someone who knows how to read it. So 2 years ago, I was talking about like maybe I should do like Akashic record reading, but I kept asking the people who followed me like, do they think that's a good idea? Because I have a small channel, and so I pretty much know most of my viewers. Like the ones who are regular viewers, I know who they are. And so when you make a step like that, going from something, I talk about a bunch of random esoteric stuff. Nobody cares about that. So when you go from that to talking about something like the Akashic records, and plus I can do timing. Nobody in astrology knows how to do timing. Like they're just best guessing it. I'm almost never best guessing it when I'm talking about an individual. Um, Events are harder because they manipulate the events. But if they didn't manipulate the events, I could do the events too. But they manipulate the energy so much. It's something you can't really get a handle on it because there's so much manipulation. But with individuals, I can do timing. Like I can like, oh, did this happen to you when you were 7? Did this happen to you when you were 10? This didn't happen to you? Oh yeah, somebody's in your energy. Like those are the type of things that I can tell. And so that's what the Akashic records are. And so if you need like, so this could be like for you a more introspective time to kind of dig into your own records so that you can understand who you are as a person, because that's what that's how Diana treated me. I went really deep into my own chart, into my past, trying to find different correlations. That's how I learned astrology, just like trying to really get a handle on this kind of stuff that I knew I was doing, but I didn't really know why. And the more I dug into my chart, and that's the first thing we did. We started digging into our charts first, and then after that, we started taking our meditation seriously. And so things started to really, really slow down so that I could get a good look at what was happening, even though we were still doing a lot by canceling the contracts and all of that. That was kind of like an aside. The biggest thing that happened during that time period is I really dug into my chart and I really understood that everything that was happening to me was not as a result of what someone else did, but truly it was just assigned to me. It's just, this is just the way that I was made. um in past lives I was basically the same way. Like things have not changed, and so the only difference is in this incarnation I'm a female, and I probably wasn't a female in the last incarnation based on how masculine my placements are. But I've got all of the knowledge of a man but in a female body, so I'm able to reproduce. So that's kind of like the biggest difference on this in this cycle. But it's all in my chart. I keep trying to tell people everything is in your chart. Like, and there's still people who don't believe it. They're like, no, that's not in there. And I'm like, I guarantee you I can find it. It's in your chart, you know? And so that's, you have to know your, so knowing that Diane is related to the astrology, and knowing that how important it is to understand yourself. When you understand yourself, you can see her story in your story. And when you can make those connections, that's when things at least that part will clear up and it will be obvious what's going on. But if people don't take the opportunity to do that, they're missing out on a huge opportunity to learn these kind of skills that are otherwise either inserted into you by these people trying to use every single straw man they have access to, or like you just totally miss it and goes over your head.
Yeah, it's the straw man thing makes a lot of sense in terms of like the amount of individuals, beings, people that I have encountered that, like, sometimes they seem normal, and then other times they start moving shisty, and it's like,
Right.
yo, what, whoa, something just changed. Like, something
Right.
just
Yeah,
flipped.
they've got tags in their energy. Like when she described that, by the time I finished reading these books, which I don't even like books, so it's really again finishing stories that were started. I'm not really a book person, but at the time when I found out about Diana, I was reading like 3 or 4 books like about this stuff. So that's another thing. Like the studying gets real serious when Diana's energy gets active. I'll know exactly how they do it. Like it'll just be obvious.
Yeah.
But it
So in terms of, uh, so I guess, well, okay. So one is, so I have two questions. One is, a longer term one is, I guess, like, okay, now that we know it's a nation full of golem, like, what's the strategy in terms of managing them, dealing with them? Is there rehabilitation that's possible? And then the other question, which I guess is more immediate, is, how do we make the most out of the Diana energy intensifying this period, and also diving deeper into the darkness? Because, like I've been diving very deep into the darkness, and I'm
right,
out here, like, I'm out here it's like every time it gets dark, I just start whipping people. It's like I can't even help it. It's like, okay, guys, it's like you had a little bit of break, which they didn't, because their whole life now is just becoming a constant torment. But
right,
it was daylight. I was out and about. Now I'm back in the dungeon, and I'm putting you guys in your place. And you
right,
guys, as in the people that refuse to serve. And it's not even about serving me, it's about serving God,
right,
because these people continue to refuse to serve. And hey, that's okay. You guys want to continue to refuse to serve? That's fine. But you interacted with my energy, and as a result, I can't go to God and be like, oh yeah, God, um, you sent me down here to empower and elevate humanity, and all the people that I touched, they didn't do anything about it. I cannot go to God and be like, yeah, I didn't try my hardest to elevate and transform these people. And I tried with love, I tried with the light, and the golem basically almost captured me. They almost
right,
overran me.
right,
And if I would have stayed in the light, not that I left the light, but if I would have stayed just in the light, I would have been penniless. I would have been completely destroyed physically, in terms of
right,
just there. It was every opportunity to expand in the material realm, the golem would come in. The golem would
yeah,
come in and try to fuck it up, mess it up, destroy the connections, destroy the relationships. And hey, I serve God. That's okay. If that's what is meant to happen, I embrace it. But in this next phase, especially in building out the Holy Imperium, no, that's just not gonna happen. That just
right,
cannot happen. I can't have these golem out here messing up my plans, messing up our plans.
right,
It's just not gonna happen. So now with the darkness, it's like, one, learning how to wield it, learning how to embrace it, learning how to utilize it, and at least what I'm doing this season is terrorizing everyone in the spiritual, energetic, reality, and letting them know who the fuck I am. And if you don't serve, if you don't align to the Holy Imperium, well, the pain is only gonna get worse.
right. Well, okay, so the way that you can like maximize your connection with Diana is to follow your intuition. Like wherever it takes you, you go with it. So for me, it's almost always like I said, creating a new thing. So now, like I said, I got this new recipe for these pendulums. I got all the stuff. I just need to put it together, which is probably going to happen tomorrow. So that's what happened with me. Like, I just got all new stuff, and I'm just going with whatever the energy is. When the sun is out, I'm a little more measured in my behavior because I don't want to go to the extreme. Because, like, you have like the light and the dark. You can overdo it on the light just like you can overdo it on the dark. But because we have not even really touched the dark, you can't really overdo it. But we have overindulged in the light, and so we could easily overdo it with the light. With the darkness, it's whatever intuitively, whatever you, because the thing that you have to learn is how to take orders that don't make sense and still follow through with them. So like the last video I made about Diana was in 2023. And basically, since then, since December of 2023, I have just maintained the things that I was already given by her, and just carried them out. I didn't get new instructions last winter, like I said. So I just continued on with I refined my approach to interacting with her. So I really think it has to do with the even odd years. Like on even years, I don't think her energy is as strong. But or maybe it could be because the Jupiter was in Gemini, and so it didn't necessarily, anyway, for whatever reason, the energy wasn't as strong last year as it is now. And so that just tells, that's a an observation, a sign, something to think about and process. Like, why is that? I don't know. But I do know one thing. I'm just following all my intuitions, and things are just lining up. Like, things are just in 2023, even though I was following my intuitions, things didn't line up. Things weren't working out, because the reason why I started Operation Holly Jolly, because in 2022 it was Operation Elvira, which was different. So 2023 was my first Operation Holly Jolly, and the reason why I started is because I saw them kicking up this whole men versus women trying to divide and conquer strategy between everybody. This whole Willie Lynch thing that they just do to people. I saw that being kicked up. In 2024, they tried it a little bit, but it wasn't as active. We're in 2025, it's pretty non-existent. Like, they're not, the whole trying to divide and conquer seems to be failing. They're not able to divide people. There's nothing to conquer, and nobody cares. So it's almost like the stuff that I did in 2023, I'm now starting to see the resolution to. So I don't know exactly what cycle this is, but that's something that I'm going to be looking into, because obviously something is different. But I haven't looked at I have to do some research on it to see what it is that's causing this year to be different. But I know one thing: you follow your intuition, you set up, um, you tie in some of that Capricorn energy with setting the routine, dealing with Saturn. Like, I established Operation Holly Jolly in 2023. There was no update, so we just continued it in 2024. Now we're in 2025. I got an update. The update is, don't forget about Jupiter in this whole thing. Okay, so now I updated it to include Jupiter. And now instead of a fast, I'm doing a feast, and then you guys are fasting, and so it balances out because we're trying to balance out the energy. So it was updated. So whatever we do this year, 9 times out of 10, it'll be the same next year, and then maybe in 2027 we'll get an update on something that needs to be done. So it does seem like the more you lean into your intuition now, the you pretty much know what your next year is going to be like. It's going to be very, very similar. So for me, I found like a bunch of money today, like just laying out. I was like, what is this? This is so weird. Like, where did this money come from? So I said, okay, well, I'm not going to spend it. I'm just going to stick it in my wallet, because it's good to have cash in your wallet. That attracts more cash. And so that's what I did. But I also did a ritual to bring more money in, specifically into my wallet, something I saw someone else do. So that tells me that little ritual, it worked. So it's like, okay, that's weird. I wasn't expecting that to happen like that. So now I've got a bunch of other stuff that I started in 2022 as far as good luck charms and stuff like that, that I'm going to try now to see if they work, because last year nothing worked. Nothing I did worked. Everything was, it was horrible. Now it's like, if you would have told me 12 months ago that 12 months later things would be like this, I would be like confused. I would like, well, how did that happen? Like, I see my situation. What the heck is going on here? Like, I'm on the verge of literally not even like having to work, because I was, not that I'm going to have the money not to work, because that's not what I'm talking about, but I'm talking about more so I have somebody to cover my routes, because there was nobody to cover my routes before, which is why I would not stop working, because I wouldn't want to not work and then not have anybody to cover the routes because the kids. But now, like, there's people who can cover my routes. So for some reason, I can't do my routes starting in January. I don't have to worry because there's someone there who can do my routes. Whereas before, that was like non-existent. There was nobody. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, do you really have to do this route? Do you really have to do this route? Like, no, I guess I don't really have to do it. I can go and do something else with my time, which would be great, which would be ideal and optimal for me, to not have to be fooling with these people. But last year at this time, that wasn't even an option. I was, dying to have more like hours to work, routes to do, anything to bring in more money in. This year it's like, mm, I could just stay home. I would be cool with that, especially if I had like a nice house, or I had to decorate, I had to get ready for parties, or whatever the case may be. Like, I would much rather be doing any of that than dealing with these people. That's unheard of from last year to this year. So I don't exactly know what's going on. I can't give you a full court press, but we're investigating this energetically to see exactly what's happening. It's just amazing that I said Michael was coming up. That means Diana's going to come up, and now Diana has like showed up in a way that I just wasn't expecting.
Yeah, that's beautiful. At least from my experience, um, last year, especially end of last year, early early this year, January. Yeah, it was really November, December, January, February, but it was really the peak was December, January. That was a very pivotal moment in my life because that was when I said, "Fuck this shit." Fuck these people,
Mm,
fuck all this fakeness. Like, why the fuck do I keep getting like attempted to be taken out? And it's not even just the
mm,
people that I don't know, it's people within my generously open court. So what I did was I
mm,
said, I've had it. I've had it. I've had it. I can't keep this shit going. So I kicked everyone out of my court and I closed it. And I said, from now
mm,
on, it's going to be extremely difficult to get in. And I basically just, let everyone energetically figure their shit out. So um back that was like the last that time was the last time where I was so focused on just the light. And then when I
mm,
closed my court, when I made it very difficult to get in now, where people are they're outside of the gates. Everyone is outside of the gates unless
right.
God, unless God is uh is commanding me to let you in. I'm not letting nobody in. I don't care how nice this person might be.
Right.
I don't care if they need this, that. Obviously, I'm still going to be generous, but I'm going to do it from outside my walls. Like, you need
Right.
food? Here's food. Like, that doesn't mean we're buddies. That doesn't mean we're friends.
Right.
You hit me up to support, to work closely with me. That's great. You're not my friend. You're not my buddy. And in the past, I was just, yeah, just bring them all in. I'll heal them,
Right.
I'll empower them, I'll guide them. But so I went from being out on the streets evangelizing to saying, fuck this, I'm closing up shop. Let me go back into my castle and let me actually rule from my throne. Let me actually command reality
Mm.
as I have shown myself to be able to do. And all these insolent peasants are just gone. They're gone. The energy, I am not going to allow the energy to let them stay here any longer. And then this is when the darkness came. This is
Mm.
when a few months later, I learned that the dark is actually not a bad thing. So I was like, oh shit, okay, I have to embrace the dark. I just had to. I felt the calling within that it was necessary. And that is, I think, now in this, it's really, I went from still a peasant state of mind. Last year, I was still in a peasant state of mind, which was it was LARPing as Jesus. It was
Right.
like, I will follow Jesus's footsteps and continue supporting my people. But then God told me, like, enough. He literally, I think it was during that same time, that was when God said, enough, stop being a fucking dumbass. Enough, just enough, enough, enough. Like, you've had it. You did it.
That's probably
You already did
Diana.
it. You
Surely.
already did it. Stop trying to keep, like, it's like, it's like, you finished the light level. Congrats. Now stop doing that. Stop doing
Right.
that. So by embracing the dark now, it's by embracing the light and the dark that we truly become those divine royals. Because if we only have one or the other, we're imbalanced. So for the first time, at least in my life, I am heading into winter with a way more balanced state than ever before. And because of that,
Mm.
I speak with light. And if reality does not follow the light, the commands that God is sending me, I have the dark now. I've never had the dark. And
Right.
because I have the dark now, who's going to ignore me? Who's going to negate me? They
Right.
can't. The system can't. Sure, yeah,
Right.
people around me might be able to play around, but the thing is, they're not even able to enter my reality anymore. Like, the standards by which I hold myself and by which I hold everyone around me keeps increasing. And it's not a, oh,
Mm.
you have to do this, you have to do that. No, it's energetic. Are you doing the
Right.
work or not? If you're not doing the work and you don't give a shit about doing the work, the energy is just not going to let those people get in my reality. So things are now
Right.
getting really serious, finally, because at least in my reality, I have embraced the dark. And I'm
Now, what
thwacking
happened in
people with the hit,
2023? What happened?
with the stick.
What happened in 2023 in winter? Do you remember?
Um, 2023. What happened in 2023? Oh, yes, yes. So 2023, I got into a relationship and I was taken
Mm.
away from where I live to Texas. And I lived with this
Mm.
person for 4 months, I think,
Mm.
until I could not tolerate it anymore. It was like, this is dragging me down. This connection is dragging me the fuck down. Yeah, I'm not like, it's what I've noticed, especially when it comes to, like, love relationships, is like, it's understandable, but they don't see me. They don't see me. They don't see who and what I am. And it's not like I'm trying to explain it to them, but because they don't see me, they try to see me in the way that they want to see me, which is
Right.
not empowered. They want me controlled. They want
Right.
me captured. They want me kind of hindered that in bite-sized ways so that they can handle that energy.
Right.
But
Right.
because
Right.
my energy is not, it's not an energy to be handled. You can't just put my fucking energy in a jar and run off with it. And that's what at least the women that I used to attract used to believe. It was like they're attracted to this powerful energy, but because they only want it for themselves, they don't know how to handle it. And they're really not equipped, at least the ones that I was attracting, to be able to handle it. So in this specific connection, like it got to a point where I was replaying a karmic cycle, obviously with a different person, but the same similar karmic cycle. And instead of in that situation, I could have just kept, like, I could have ended things, but I could have kept the connection going in terms of basically like dangling the carrot, because I
Right.
love so deeply. And but what I realized was this person is not healing, they're not listening, they're not elevating, they're not being empowered, and as a result, I'm now like, someone has to give. And for
Right.
the first few months, I allowed myself to be and to feel and to enter her reality and her energy, to then bring her up. Literally, I went into hell with her. I went into her hell, held her hand, and started walking with her. And every single time we would start
Mm.
walking to go out of hell, she said, "Oh, fuck you, fuck off. Why are you, why, like, who do you think you are? This, that, blah, blah, blah." And then it got to a point where I was like, you know what? Okay, we're done. We're done. This is over. This is over.
Right.
I can't keep this
Right.
going. So that one
Right.
was when it came to love, in terms of intimate love. That was when I was like, never again am I going to allow another person, and specifically in this scenario, a woman, drag me down and get in between me and my mission, what I'm here to do.
Right.
Um, so it's interesting because basically every winter, looking back now, has been very powerful. It's been basically teaching me to, it's been teaching me about sovereignty. That's really what I think it's been. It's been teaching me about
Mm.
how to actually be a sovereign, because that's what a royal is. A royal is a sovereign. All these royalties, they call
Right.
themselves sovereign. So,
Right.
but to
And I hate that word because it's like they have this term called sovereign citizens. And it's like, how can you be a sovereign citizen? Like, that doesn't even go together. So, like, they basically use it as uh, like a bad word when you're talking about people who do the paperwork processes. They automatically like label you as a sovereign citizen, and then they basically don't want to like listen to anything you have to say, no matter how rational your arguments, because so many men, especially, have gone into these courtrooms not understanding what they're talking about. So if they like even think that you're considered a sovereign citizen, they will not listen to you at all. So I had started saying, I really don't like that term, because if you're a citizen of somewhere, you're not a sovereign. But what the way you're using it is correct. If you're the ruler, you're sovereign. And your subjects have to be citizens to your sovereignty.
oh, okay.
And so it changes the whole dynamic. So, yes, you are a sovereign, like when you're the ruler of the kingdom. But if you're not the ruler of the kingdom, then you're just a citizen,
And you said
which is
citizens have
fine.
to,
Be sovereign. They have citizens have to be loyal to the king.
yeah, right,
They're
right.
sovereign to
Uh-huh.
the king. the king is the one who is the sovereign to himself, because he's the king of the
Yep, yep.
kingdom. So I would always say, no, I'm only sovereign to the creator,
Mm,
because the creator is the one who created me, not all these little g gods or whoever. Like, they didn't create me, they didn't make me. So no, I'm not going to be sovereign to them, and I'm definitely not sovereign to the United States. That's crazy. The United States government did not make me. So because again, the government is trying to usurp the role of the creator. They want to say that they created you. That's why but they did. They created a nation full of golems with their straw man scam that they're running. So they did create you, but they didn't. They created you, the number, but they did not create you, the human.
right, right. Yeah, and a few of us were able to break free from the programming to fully start to move towards embracing like our our divine being, because like these NPCs, these are the
Right.
golem. Is they you know they go to
Exactly.
college, they get a degree, they have all these friends, they watch this. I mean, it's I've met the, they're all around us. They're all around us, and I
Yeah.
sometimes I look at their lives and I'm
Yeah.
like, how? Like, how are they living? It's like they have to, as you said, they have to medicate, and sometimes they're not taking pharmaceuticals, but they're literally like spiritually self-medicating themselves when it
Well,
comes
it's
to.
also leaves. It's like, because one thing I figured out is that in order to program these golem, they use leaves. They use tree leaves specifically, and that's a whole nother thing we'll have to get to. So they could be taking, so like, cocaine is a product of a leaf. They do something to the leaves. Like, a lot of these street drugs are products of
Yep.
leaves.
Oh, right.
That's why they don't like marijuana, because marijuana is a product of flowers.
Mm,
So it messes with their thing. That's why if you get the marijuana from the dispensary, they spray it with all that stuff,
wow.
because the stuff is what it destroys the potency of the actual product, which is neither here nor there. But
So what you were saying with in being a sovereign is like every winter time, now looking at this, is I have been shown. So because 2021, that winter, same time period, that winter is when I decided to go on the journey of embracing unconditional love. And I mean, that was
mm,
a if it wasn't for embracing unconditional love, there's no way that I would be able to rule. There's no way, because
right,
it the having boundless ability, or having boundless love to give and to feel, is a requirement, I believe, in being a wise ruler. Because, like, as you said, I
right,
think earlier in the talk, it's like it's I forgot what word you said, but it's like you have to know exactly when to use the light and the dark, how to use them together, at what percentages, do this, do like
right.
it's not black or white. It's always in the gray area. Yes,
Nuance.
nuanced, right.
It's
It's
nuanced.
it's
Yes.
heavily nuanced, but the nuance comes from our devotion to God, because it's not like it's God is leading the way, and that's I think what makes a sovereign, is that the connection that the sovereign has to God should be moving towards being absolute, where it's almost like
Right.
the individual, like, it's like I exist as me, the human being, and me, the sovereign. And I'm able to almost
Mm,
change on command, where, I'm able to go back into my like citizen being and function from there.
right.
And then I mean, I think you were talking about like Michael Jackson, like these all these artists, where they have that persona where they go on the stage and they are almost like a different
Right.
person. And so I
Yes.
think it's very similar to, in terms of ruling a kingdom, is obviously you have that persona as like the king, the queen, the emperor, the ruler, but then you also have that other persona where you're a human being that is devoted to God. and
Right.
having those two is very important, because the only way that we're able to rule in the way that is in alignment is our human vessel has to be fully devoted to God. So
Right.
that
Right.
so okay, so now, after all these lessons that I've learned, now it's this winter. Obviously a 9 year, right? So endings,
Right.
graduations, like fulfillment. That's what a nine is, fulfillment.
Right.
If you've done the work, you
Right.
become fulfilled. So in being a sovereign and ruler of the Holy Emperium, now I'm looking around saying, where are my citizens? Where are my
Mm.
servants? How, like, and
Now remember, okay, before you go on, because I don't
mhm,
want to forget this. Number one, the servants are the sons of Ham, the Canaanites. They are the servant of servants. So that's who the servants are. So that would be the so-called elite right now. Most of them are Hamites,
mm,
and they are the ones who. So when how do we start this whole like talks? All of these talks started with what? The elite are getting cooked. Yeah, because they're your
yeah,
servants
right.
and they're not serving you the way that you're supposed to. And so that's what this part of the journey has been. Whipping these, that's who you're
Mm-hmm.
whipping. You're
Mm-hmm.
whipping these elites into being the servants that they're supposed to be. They're the servant of servants. That was the curse of Ham. Now, it doesn't mean they stop being rich or anything like that, but they have to serve at your will. It's not an option because that's just the way that it works. You didn't like make the rules, you didn't do the cursing. All you're doing is saying, no, this is the way that it's supposed to work. That's one part of it. And then the other, oh crap, I can't remember the other thing, but that was the main one. Like those are the servants. They have to be whipped into shape. And so that's who you're whipping. Oh, so 2021 was a 5 year. So fives are they're the change in direction. And 9 is not the last year, it's the first year of the set of the new cycle. So on my number sheet, it goes 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So last year, the 8 year was wrapping up the cycle. 9 is the beginning of the cycle, not the end.
Okay, nice. Yeah, that adds more texture to everything for sure, because I definitely wrapped up a lot last year, or this 8 year.
Right. That's I yeah, it and for me in 2021, I came to Jacksonville for the first time.
Mm.
I came was it for the first time? No, that's when I moved to Jacksonville was the end of 2021, the beginning of 2022. I started my sister moved here in December and I was down here back and forth to Jacksonville from the time that she moved and I moved down here in 2000 and no I moved down here in 2020. No, it was in 2021, but it was the beginning of 2021, so basically the winter of 2020. So that would have been a 4 year. So I was slowly transitioning. I think it was by the next year that I had moved all of my stuff from Maryland into Florida. It took me a whole year because I had a lot of stuff and I was moving very slowly with the whole process because I had made up my mind if I was going to stay here or if I was going to go back and forth. And so all of 2021 I was going back and forth from Maryland to Florida, back and forth. And then at the end of the winter of 2021, the end of the year going into 2022, that's when I decided I wasn't going to go back and forth anymore and I was going to stay down here mostly. That was a very, very difficult decision. So I changed the trajectory. So that
And that
was
was what year?
so 2021, the
Of
winter. So
2020.
like December of no, the winter of 2021. Because in
Mm.
2020, in December of 2020, that's when I had my son. And so in the beginning, like in January, no, I moved to Florida in so the so in November of 2020, that was my first time coming to Jacksonville. and but I didn't know I was pregnant. So then in December I had a baby, and then by March I had moved down here, but I was still going back and forth. So by the winter, the following winter, which would have been like late 2021 into 2022, that's when I decided I wasn't going to be going back and forth. So it was a very,
Wow.
very, that whole time was very, very pivotal for where I am right now, because that's when I made the decision I have to remove myself from this energy. So then when 2022 started up, that's when actually, I think it was like January of 2022, that's when I started studying with those Hebrew Israelites. So they again, and then as soon as I started studying with them, which is just watching the video, seeing what they're talking about, the guy starts talking about magic. So immediately, so in 2022, around this time, that's when I was introduced to magic. And the concept that magic was not wicked, because only thing I ever heard before then was, oh,
Mm.
you can't do magic. Magic is bad, this and that. And so this man is tying the magic to the Bible and explaining it and all this stuff. And it's like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. Let me dig into this for myself. And I discovered all these books, and I just started, doing my own independent investigation based on what I already knew. So that was all of those years, the 4 year, the 5 year, the 6 year, yeah, those were really, really pivotal to where I am today, starting this 9 year. And so now I'm glad I even said it about the 9 year, because I've forgotten, like, no, this is not the end. 8 is what wraps it up. And that's why I was wondering, like, remember I said in the last talk, oh, they're releasing this Amelia Earhart stuff. It's been 88 years, and I didn't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing. But it seems like it's kind of not good, because why are you trying to wrap up something that was supposed to be wrapped up last year? That 8 year is over. He should have, like, why he waited, why he released the JFK and the RFK stuff in before the end of the 8 year, because remember the 8 year ended on September the 7th. Those things was released well before the end of the 8 year, but not this. It's very weird. So I don't know, like, I don't know what they got going on, because I don't even know who's really in charge, and I don't necessarily think it's Trump, but something weird is going on with that. You said it last time too. Something is with that, because we're not even in the eighth is over. We're in a 9 year. We literally just started the 9 year, and so we are well into, like, we should that all of that old energy should be over with, like that old stuff they're trying to bring up. It's like, no, we need to move forward, not backwards. And I think that's why a lot of people energetically are confused. Like, I keep seeing people say, oh, we changed timelines and all this stuff. And I'm like, change timelines to what? What timeline are you expecting? Like, the timeline where, like, I don't know what these people are expecting, and I don't know what they're seeing either. And I think that makes it a little bit scary, because a lot of these people are just straight up delusional. They don't know what's going on. They don't have a handle on what's
Mhm.
in their energy, especially if they've never done any of this paperwork stuff. They've never thought about the fact that, not sovereignty specifically, but just in general, that the government should not be allowed to control you. Like, there's a this happened the other day. ASAP Rocky came out and he was like, I'm a loving husband to Rihanna. And everybody was like, husband? They didn't get married, this and that. I'm like, why y'all want the government in all y'all business? Like, that's the most important thing to you, is to get the government's approval on something. I will never. I'm not asking for their permission to be married. I'm not getting their paperwork endorsed so that they can create another golem. Because what you do is, when you have if you get the government, like if you do it in a church, that's a bond between you and God and the person, which is appropriate. Like, you would want God in your relationship, but the government is not my God. So I don't want the government in the middle of my relationship. And that's what people think. They think if they get a piece of paper from the government that says that they're married, that literally puts God into the middle of their relationship. I mean, you're not. You're putting the government into the middle of your relationship, and you're calling it God. Like, there's a problem here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's interesting, in terms of this 9 being the new year, and us, like, you could really feel that it's new. Like, there is
Right.
it's a
This
new
is all new
cycle. Yeah, it's a
stuff.
new cycle. That's why the elites are going haywire, because they don't know what's going on. They don't know what's up, they don't know what's down, like, they're just getting dragged left and right. Um, and I think when it comes to, like, what's interesting, because, um like, one of the things that I've been very fascinated in showing, especially one of the reasons why I'm so transparent online, is, um, from very early on, I knew that I was the emperor. I
Right.
didn't really still know what it meant or how it was gonna look. I didn't care about any of that. I just knew that that's what I am. And
Right.
and so I by showing transparently my whole journey, my whole focus was, I am going to show humans for them to become the emperor, how for them
Right.
to step into their divine powers, to be whatever the emperor really even means, because it's a title, but it's really like it's in this energetic state of being a sovereign, a very very
Right.
powerful human that's able to wield the dark and the light in a masterful way. And so now, as you were talking about the magic stuff, is what I just realized is, all this time, that all of my life, I have had the golem coming at me, attacking me,
Yep.
manipulating, cheating, backstabbing, lying on me, trying to destroy my opportunities, just getting in my fucking path. And I don't remember one time where I fought back in terms of wished hate, wished negativity on them. Tried to destroy them, like tried to use my powers, my God-given powers, to bring them down or to seek revenge. Not once. Now, obviously, did I feel some type of way? Many of those instances, of course, but did I ever direct any wrath their way? No. There was something within my
Mm.
heart I could not. I could not. And something even deeper that said, like, this, it's not your place. It's not your place. It's not your
Right.
place. If this person, lied on your name, yeah, you can go and clear it up with them. Like, you can go and and ask them, yo, what's going on? What's your problem? But besides that, like, it's not your judgment to carry. Now, back then, obviously, I didn't know these words. All I knew was, that's not your place. So keep doing you, like, have faith that you are who you are, and basically have to be alone. You got to be a lone ranger. So now it's like, I have shown God that every opportunity that I had to get my lick back, to get revenge, to like bring up this darkness, to create chaos amongst those that did me wrong, I didn't do it. I didn't give in. I didn't
Mm.
allow my heart to get dark. And because of that,
Right.
like, it got to a point where, as I said, God literally, like, spoke to me and said, enough. Like, stop, like, I got it. You did it. You did it. You are the light. I see the I see the purity in your heart, but like what you like it's but you passed, so now the dark, like, now you get
Right.
access to the dark, and not only a little bit of dark, you get access to all of it, because you have
Right.
shown that when you had all these golem coming at you, not once did you try to take advantage of the dark, which is the feminine. Not once did you try to take advantage of Diana. Did you try to manipulate Diana or use it to my
Right.
own personal means? No, I kept showing love, and I kept moving as best as I could, and leaving the people that were trying to do me wrong in behind the scenes. So now I wield the darkness, and I wield the darkness in a way where initially I was tiptoeing, just looking back at God saying, "Hey, like, is this okay? Like, can I do this? Like,
Right.
is this all right? Like, I'm not here to like try to take advantage of the powers that you have given me. I'm not here to, like, I'm here to serve you." And the whole time he keeps saying, "More, more, like,
Right.
like, show you're on stage, like, perform,
Right.
perform. I trust you. Like, you got the backing of me." And in doing so, like, obviously I'm still learning what this means, but like, this is why this whole system is getting whipped into shape. The private equity, it's like now it's like all these different stories just coming out. Everybody, all Americans have decided that private equity is scum. That
Yeah.
anytime private
It's
equity touches
amazing.
it, it dies. So now we have the energy of the collective literally directing energy to private equity to fail, to
Right.
to
It's
be destroyed.
amazing. I never expected to see that where people are just like, no, we're not going to be dealing with these people. Like everybody is like, nah, we don't think so. No, we don't like them. No, 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 no. So they're going to have to listen to us if they want to rehabilitate their image.
Uh-huh.
And they
Yeah.
because they can't stay in business like this.
No,
Like
no.
you can see that whole system is collapsing. And I don't they ne- because the AI my friend was like, "Hey, did you hear that Sam Altman sold all his AI stock?" I said, "He did what?" That bubble is popped. Why would he do that? That's crazy. This is the AI guy selling all his AI stock. What?
Yeah,
What's happening here?
yeah, I mean, people's whole trajectory of where they were headed is now breaking apart. Because
It's
everyone was
crazy.
building on the misaligned system. Now that system has collapsed. They don't know where to go because they still don't like they don't see the empire because it's not like blatantly there. Um, but
Right.
because I am out here literally there's so much dark. It's dark the whole day. The whole day, basically,
Right.
besides like 4 or 5 hours, it's it's dark, especially the fact my sleeping schedule. And every time it gets dark, it's something within me gets fired up and I just start sending commands. Like I just start just it's just this it's not even like I'm consciously like sending like conscious commands. It's like I am just directing this highly refined dark energy to just blast everything that is misaligned. Everything. And
Mm.
specifically besides just the reality, those that are meant to be in my service, the fact that they continue to refuse, they continue to try to either demean me by saying I'm doing black magic on them because they're getting hit. All these people that came into my life to serve, to support the empire, they are being dragged because the service to me is not over, guys. If anything, not only is it not
Right.
over, you now owe me way more than just uh what you volunteered, what you signed up to do. You signed up. All these
Right.
people signed up to serve me. Now, did I come into this reality knowing that? No, I found that out. And I found that out as I reclaimed my power. And I started to look back and
Mm.
say, you were supposed to serve me. You were supposed to serve me. You were supposed to serve me. You threw everything they were supposed to serve me. And what did all of you guys do? You guys did the opposite. You guys did the complete opposite. So, what are we doing now that I have the darkness within me and the light? I'm dragging all of these motherfuckers to energetically destroy their pride and their ego because that's the thing that's tripping them up. Once
Right.
that is fully destroyed and they know that it's me, they're having dreams about me, they can't stop thinking about me, like everything is telling them it's me. and and
Right.
so When that pride and ego gets fully destroyed, they will come back and be ready to serve. Now, the beautiful thing is they've already been serving, right?
Right.
It's not like everything that they have done has been in the service of the empire, which obviously is of God, but it's been under heavy negation. Now, what's happening as we wield the dark and the light is we're tying it all back in. We're bringing all the pieces back
Right.
in. We're bringing everybody back into the fold and and making it very clear that everything that is being done is for the success and empowerment of the empire. That's what it's being done for.
Right.
Because if that's not clear, it's gonna be miscombobulated. It's gonna be all over the fucking place. Everybody's gonna be trying to serve themselves, which is what all these people in my life have been trying to do. Is they've been trying to serve themselves. Where has it led them? Depression,
Right.
anxiety, suicidal thoughts, anger, horrible relationships, no love. No, I mean it's chaos, and it's only going to get worse. And they know that it's because I have left their life, because I am not there. And I left their life because they're not serving me.
Right.
And I think that's what really, in this current period of darkness, is people are being sent to the gallows. They're being sent to the dungeons. Like
Right.
we're rounding up everybody. We're rounding everybody up that continues to negate, that continues to think that they're just going to be able to rest on their laurels, and getting them up, getting them working with the explicit understanding that it's for the empire. Because these people can't work
Yeah,
for
because
themselves. They don't like, they have
no.
to be rehabilitated into learning how to serve God. That's what the empire is about. I mean, that's
Right.
the whole point of the empire. The empire is not, oh, we're going to be big and amazing and we're going to rule the world. No, it's how do we build a mechanism? And really that's part of the hyperstructure too, but it's the empire. How do I build a mechanism to incentivize humans to serve God? Because clearly they can't do it by their own free will. So we have to create a mechanism where they all are forced. Eventually, obviously, everyone's going to embrace it, but they're forced into getting into this mechanism that begins to support in their elevation. Because if it's not for this mechanism, we would be here another few thousand years again. Just keep doing the same
Oh
shit
God, this
over
is
and over and over again. And
I call it the doom loop. Like there will be no getting off this thing.
right, and so and now with the darkness is, hey, if this means I accrue a shit ton of karma and have to come back and pay it off, I don't care. I have the power now. So I'm a whip everybody into shape because, as you said, we're not doing the doom fucking loop. I'm not allowing
Right.
that doom loop to happen. And because I'm not allowing the doom loop to happen, now we are building out the structure, the energetic structure to incentivize humanity to ascend, to elevate, to regain their morals, to regain their passion.
Well, you're not accruing a lot of karma for it either because the creator is nuanced. How can if it depends? The only reason why people accrue karma is because they do what they know is wrong. That's the only way. And then you
Mm,
have to come back in another lifetime to resolve that. But if you this is why you self forgiveness is important. If you forgive yourself for what you've done and you come to terms with it, make peace with it, like I did the best I could given the circumstances, or if I didn't have to do whatever it was and I wouldn't have done it. Like, if you come to terms with that, then again, with the terms, like you wouldn't have, you're not accruing karma for it. This is how these, the ones who create the golems keep their hands clean because they're like, well, I didn't do it, that golem over there did it. So guess what? They have no karma. But see, by shutting the exits, by sealing the exits and saying, no, 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 this doesn't work like that. You did something you weren't supposed to do, and now you have to pay for it. Like, because they've never paid for any of their karma for God knows how long, it's all coming back to them. Because Diana, like I said, is the Akashic Records. So even if they think that, oh, well, that person did it, it wasn't me, and that person did it, it wasn't me, if that person only did it because you instructed them to preserve their wealth or whatever it is, whatever order you gave them, that karma is still yours. That's like it says in the Bibles, somewhere in Deuteronomy, some Old Testament book. It's like, I think it's Leviticus actually. It's like, if you see somebody do something wrong and you don't say to them, hey, you probably shouldn't do that, then you're the one with the karma on your hands and not them. This is why I don't let people do wickedness around me. I got something to say. No, 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 you're not going to, like, this is why I had to get, like, separate myself from my my oldest daughter's father, because he was involved in some stuff that I knew was wrong. Like, he was friends with people, what they were doing was wrong. And I would say to him, like, that person is wrong. Why are you spending time with them? He was like, well, that's not my life, it's them, and this how they no, 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 no. It don't work like that. You cannot observe somebody doing wickedness and not say something to them. So
Mm.
me, I had to remove myself, and I will do that if somebody is doing something and I don't feel comfortable with it. I just remove myself, and it
Yep.
won't be. I will say, now I've learned how to say something without say something. I
Mm-hmm.
will be like, like, that's just not something I really think is a good idea or something like that, without being like so judgy, because it's not a judgment, it's a protection. It's like, no, I see what's going on here, and I don't have to actually be involved with that. And sometimes I just say to myself, I don't have to be involved with this because this is not right by my book. So let me just step back, because I don't need whatever is coming as a result of that. And so that's what I do. I remove myself. Like, I don't have a problem with anybody. Like, you're the opposite of me. So you're like, you don't want these people in in your court. You don't want them eating at your table. I don't care. Come on in, have a seat at the table, eat, and leave. And you still, because I think it has to deal with me having a Scorpio moon. Like, it doesn't matter how close someone is to me in proximity. That means you probably know less about me than you even think you know, unless I deliberately go out of my way to inform you. And most people, because they're selfish in nature, they don't even notice that they're doing all the talking and all I'm doing is listening and say, wow, that's great, or
Yeah,
wow, I
right.
wouldn't do that. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? They never notice that you're not actually, like, revealing anything about yourself. And I'm very, very careful about how I do that, because I'm a Scorpio. So I have a lot of Scorpio energy. So I'm just very careful about how I do that. And so I told you, I had a coworker, she thought I didn't like her. And these people had no idea. Like, it wasn't that I didn't like them. I just mind my business. Like, I say that all the time, because I don't want to be involved in nobody's stuff. But if you are having a problem, I'm jumping in to save the day. That's how I operate. Like, I'll ask, hey, do you want some help with this? Do you want some help with that? If they say yes, I'm jumping in there. And if they say no, I'm going to go ahead and keep stepping back. So she was like, oh, you're really a nice person. I was like, yeah, I just mind my business. I do my job. I don't get involved, because I see how once I get a lay of the land, I'm not putting my energy into people who are just engaged in a bunch of foolishness. It's not, I just don't do it. So and I've been like that since a child. Like, they will tell you, even when I was young, like 9, 10 years old, if people was doing stuff that wasn't right, I'd be like, I don't think that's the right thing to do. And I'm backing away at 9 years old. Like, I'm not sitting back and watching y'all do a bunch of crazy stuff and then being like, well, my friend said no, no, no. I read the Bible, and the Bible said you can't do that. And I didn't get involved in it. And so when you have that in your mind, that's again, morality, it's not on me, it's in me. Like, I was born moral, and so just understanding that, then you can nuance. So when I did stuff that I would never do today, when I was younger, I would never do some of this stuff. But at the same time, it needed to be done to prove a point. Because the point of the matter, this is another thing I was talking about my daughter earlier. Because when I was like around the early 2000s, it was this whole propaganda thing, especially with Black women, not to get pregnant. And basically, if you did get pregnant, to get an abortion. Like it was heavily pushed, probably in every community, but particularly like in the Black community, was overboard. And so like I had my oldest daughter, when I was 22. I was already graduated from college and everything. People were still acting like I was too young to have a child at 22. I wasn't 18, I wasn't 16, I was 22, and I was married, and they were still like, no, you're too young. Like, so how long do you want me to wait? No, no, no. See, because I was supposed to graduate college, get a government job, sit behind the desk, and then when I was 35 and my eggs were old, then decide to have a kid. I'm like, I never ever agreed to that. Like, why did y'all think I was gonna be like that? It was a whole huge thing, but it's like because the propaganda was so hard that even somebody who was married, like with a college degree, was still too young to be having a baby. Like that's weird. Super weird behavior. Now you got women waiting until 35 when your eggs are super old, deciding, okay, now I'm 35, my career is settled, I've seen everything I want to see. Now let me have a baby. That's a little late. Not impossible, but you're going to have a much different experience than if you have a baby at 20 or even like 16. And now I'm saying people should, but they're teaching what they're doing to women is all wrong. Like everything is all backwards. And it doesn't make any sense. Like except for again they want to create all these golems, and so if you and your child are close in age, then like for example with my daughter, when she wants to go out, like whenever she turns 21, she wants to go out, I'm gonna be right there. I already told her, y'all want to go to the club, that's fine, I'm gonna be grandma sitting in the corner with my drink, keeping an eye on y'all do whatever y'all want. But that's what they don't want. They don't want that closeness
Mm.
between parents and children. And when you're further apart in age, like me and my daughter is only 18, like, well, I had her when I was 22. So we're like 20 years apart. That's not really like a lot. But if you're 30 years apart, 40 years apart, 50 years apart, that's a much different dynamic. You're not, but me, I would go to the club right now because I'm a young, I could still consider myself a young person, not a teenager, but a young person. I would go out. But if you're 30, years older than like you had your kid when you're 35, that means y'all are not even in this like you're not even in the same like age range. You're very different.
Yeah, and also I think this ties with passion, because when we
Right.
are aligned, when we are in alignment, we have this passion that drives us. So if God calls on you to go to the club with your daughter on Friday, like you have the passion, you have the energy to do it.
Right.
People that are
Right.
not in
Exactly.
alignment, whether they're young or old, like they're just going to go against it. An
Right.
opportunity to have a relationship where you can actually go with your daughter to the club, they're not taking that. So they're not even ever going to get to that point because they're they're in a golem state where they were not able to get that type of access to their kin, to their offspring, to
Right.
their children. And as you said,
Right.
like it's definitely been a very programmatic type of situation, especially with like what we would consider American families, where after they graduate college, they're gone from the household. But what's happening now, especially with the economic situation, a lot of families are coming back to living together again. And so now you
Right.
have two
Right.
generation households, three generation households, basically almost like an Indian type of setup where they're all,
Right.
you know, maybe you guys weren't as close in the past, guys, but now you're learning to get closer. You know, you're learning how to
Right.
live with your parents, live with your grandparents, or whatever it might be. Obviously, everyone's situation is different, but regardless, is this increased connection with rehabilitating the familial space is happening, and it's only going to intensify.
Mm. Right. Right. And it's crazy because I already live like that. Like I already live like that. I feel like part of the reason like I had things happen the way that they happened to me is to separate me from what I was already doing. I always lived like 2 or 3 generations in a house. Like that's comfortable to me. I don't have an issue with that. And with my current living situation, I can't do it. Or like even like taking in other kids, like I've always been that kind of person where somebody's having a problem, I have a space where they can come at least hang out if they can't like literally move out or their parents don't like put them out. But right now I don't have a way to accommodate that. But I keep thinking like in my mind, like I need to have a space where I can accommodate some parent putting their kid out because that's a huge thing. Again, in a community, you have to have a person who can do stuff like that. When people fall on hard times, like when I fell on hard times, there was no one to help me because nobody was willing to actually make a sacrifice to help. Even if they had the capacity, they weren't willing to actually utilize that capacity. So it just put me in a really, really bad situation. And it's like, I would never do that. I would figure it out. Like, whatever the case may be, I would figure it out. And I have done that in the past. And it feels like, again, that whole 8-year cycle, they try to end the cycle with such a bad taste in my mouth that I would like whenever this stuff starts to come through the way that it's supposed to, that I would just basically again go into some kind of weird golem state where it's like, oh yeah, I'm remember all those people who did me wrong and I got something for
Yep.
them. And instead I'm like, I don't care about any of that. Like, can we just all be happy? Like, I don't care. My plans are still my plans. Like, I haven't changed any of my plans. I still want to do all the same stuff. I don't really care who I do it with, actually. The people I want to do it with don't want to do it. That's fine. I'll find some other people because it doesn't matter, like the it's no fun having abundance and just being by yourself. That's a total antithesis of how the energy is supposed to be wielded. And so I intend to wield the energy the way it's supposed to. If I'm an abundant energy, I'm supposed to be sharing that. Period. Like that's just how it works. Like we're doing the feast, right? So I said, well, what is gonna be my vessel for channeling in this abundant energy? And so that's why I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna do this candle fundraiser where I'm gonna make these candles that you can't buy because no one makes them the way that I'm talking about making them. And that's gonna be my fundraiser because everybody, I mean, I have to have a way to channel the energy in, and I still need like support, so everybody is happy. You get something that's a good quality product, and on the other end I get to channel my energy into this, this very, very specific like product that nobody is making, that I just seen online and was like, these people are ridiculous with their prices. Like, so I'm doing beeswax candles that are made with wooden wicks because we were talking about this wooden wick thing. But what the wood does when it's used as a wick for a candle is that it actually burns differently. And now what I know about the golem is, again, they use these weird leaves to program them. So if you have wood burning, that means, because I what the one of my candles I burn at night while I'm asleep. And so if I'm burning this candle at night, that means they can't, they hear the burning, and because it's not a like a regular like wax like cotton or whatever wick in the candle and it's actually wood, they can't, like, it's some kind of a protection. I haven't figured it out all the way yet because I didn't even know why I was like, because I had, like I said, what was this, like maybe a month ago, I was having some kind of a dream and I woke up out the dream thinking about thin paper. Thin paper. I said, well, why do I need thin paper? Because I was thinking about these candles I was trying to make. So I went looking for thin wood paper and I found some. And so what I found, I can actually run through the printer. So now what I'm coming to understand is the decrees that we use in the empire need to be printed out on this wood, because if it's printed out on wood, it's connected to all the trees, which means that it is basically like permanent. Like there's nothing that they can do with that because it's permanent. Especially as it relates to this whole golem thing, because they use leaves. So what they will do, and I've seen this before, it's a kind of magic I've seen. They will take like a bay leaf, right? And they'll write something on the bay leaf. And whatever it is they write on the bay leaf, that's what they're quote unquote wishing for. And so when they engage in that kind of behavior, that's a kind of magic, except for these people, they use it to control people as opposed to using it to uplift or advance people. So most of the time people do that with the bay leaves. They're wishing for like good things, good luck or whatever. But you have a certain group of people who will do this stuff with leaves and they're actually wishing for your death or something horrible to happen to you. So that's how they, because I think we talked about this with the whole grafting in issue, because if you graft on a part of a tree to another part of the tree, the that's a different tree, not the same species. So let's say you're trying to, like, I seen this at the nursery, the garden nursery. They have like a fruit tree, a mixed fruit tree. So they've got a tree base, but one branch is apples, one branch is oranges, one branch is pears, one branch is cherries. It's very weird. And basically, the leaves of the tree are not communicating with the roots in the ground. But the way an actual tree works is, um if the leaves are not getting enough of something, they communicate with the roots in the ground, and that's what, then they get the nutrients they need. So the leaves can't send a message to the roots. So basically how they do with the golem is they use leaves because the leaves are not sending the message to the roots. If they use an actual tree, like what I'm talking about, like a thin piece of tree wood, that is connecting with the roots. That is literally like esoterically connecting with the roots. But the leaves are not, because if it's grafted in, the leaf doesn't connect with the roots. So that's why they use the leaves, because basically they grafted into these individuals' energy and they're using these leaves as basically methods or manners for communicating these weird messages to people without the people knowing where the message came from. Because just like in my dream, I heard them yelling Trump, 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 but I didn't know where it came from. Most of my other dreams now, I know where they come from. So it's very hard to trick me, because I'm like, I know where that came from. I think this came from here. I think this came from there. That I was like, who is that? Like, why would somebody be in my dream chanting a name other than my name? What's that about? Like, what, y'all don't believe in me? Like, that's crazy. I never had nobody chanting for me like that. So no, that's a problem. So, but if I wasn't aware of my own energy, like a lot of people, they don't know who's in their energy. And so when you say to, especially from the tribe of Japheth, which eventually we'll have to go back to talking about that, but people who come from the line of Japheth, they don't know who's in their energy, because Japheth can only, energy can only be like basically identified by someone who's from the tribe of or the bloodline of Shem. And that's another, just like an aside, but that's the reason why these people don't know who's in their energy. And I'm still working on that theory too, which makes it a little bit more difficult. But yeah, these, you have to know like what's going on in your energy. You can't allow people in your energy you don't know who they are, because a lot of these golem wranglers, I guess, the creators, the golem creators, that's what they do. They get into innocent, or like this whole MK Ultra and all this stuff. They use all these brainwashing techniques to get into people's energy, and then whenever they need you to do something, they just write it out on a leaf and burn it probably. And next thing you know, you're crashing out on somebody you don't even know why.
Um, Going along that is what I've noticed with like these golem is that by them interacting with me, and I don't know what the protocol is, but it could just be anyone that interacts with me, like they are now in some ways like my golem. It's like they move from
Right,
serving whoever created them. It's like the golem, they only know how to serve. So
right,
so when the golem, when they meet a sovereign, obviously they're meeting the sovereign to try to derail it. At least that's what usually these golem try to do. But when the sovereign has a balanced light and dark, a balanced masculine and feminine, when the sovereign is truly in its sovereign state, the golem, now I don't know why, but they basically get zapped, and now they don't work well for the overlords. Like they're not able to um maintain that low vibrational frequency to be useful in the way that they used to be useful. It's like it's almost like the energy has been zapped out of them because they have seen the light, because they have
yes,
experienced alignment, they have felt God for the first time in their life. And so as a result of that, it now sends them towards a rehabilitation where
yes.
now.
Oh, that's the other question that you asked. Can they be rehabilitated? The answer is yes. Like, we have to, again, that's where the social proof comes in. We have to show them that there's another way. That's what the serpent did with Eve. The serpent said to Eve, just eat the apple and then you'll be like God. And Eve was like, oh, that sounds good to me. Let me go ahead and do it. That's what we have to do. We have to walk up to these people and say, hey, let's go to happy hour. Like, that's my classic. Let's go to happy hour. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. So you can see you don't have to live like this. There's no reason to live like this. And then the more questions people, especially me, the more questions people ask me about how I'm living, the more confused they get. They're like, wait, so you're doing this, you're doing that. They're very confused. And it's like, yeah, that's about it. Yep, you got it right. Yep, I've worked here, done this, done that. I'm working on 1,000 things, and some of them are not stuff you'd be interested in. And I find something that they are interested in, and I talk to them about that. They're very surprised that there's someone that can operate in this, or like I sent you today, like for the very first time in my whole entire life, like not whole entire life, I've had these tags on my car for almost 2 years. No one has ever asked me about them, never. And for the first time, this guy is like, where's AmaruKhan? I was like, oh, it's in Maryland. I was like, no, he said, please educate me. No, specifically, please educate me. Where is AmaruKhan? I was like, oh, it's in Maryland. That's where I'm from. He was like, oh, okay, wow, that's interesting. I've never had anyone ask me about these tags. Never.
Yeah, that's powerful. Yeah, that means people are ready. Like they're excited. They want to
Now, mind you,
join.
I've been riding around with homemade tags for almost 2 years and no one ever asked.
Mm.
Never. Never. I've been up and down the road. I've driven on the interstate a billion times. I've been into DC downtown. I've never had a question. course, I didn't get any accidents. That would have probably been an issue, but I never had a question.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great sign. Yeah, I think in terms of like what I'm seeing in my reality with the golem is that um there are people and whether it's them themselves that come back and actually serve, like actually follow the leader, because everyone thinks that they're the leader. Everyone thinks that
Right,
they're because of the participation trophy generation. Everyone thinks that like they're the hottest cow in the pasture.
right,
They all think that like they deserve to be the leaders.
right.
But they don't live it. They don't
No,
you could believe that you're a leader, but you got to show it. You got to live it. You got to
right.
be it. And so um, I've attracted very powerful people that fell prey to the golem. And these are people that God clearly is letting me know that they're valuable enough for me to keep in my um, sphere of energetic influence. And in this period, the next few months, the next 6 months, it's going to get very challenging, extremely, even more challenging than it already is for them. Very
right,
challenging because, like, they are actually very, very important and have been very important to my own personal development, but will continue to be important to serve the empire. Um,
right.
but it's funny because they're already going through it very intensely. But when I
Yeah,
check up on their energy, they're still refusing. Like there's a bridge, and I don't know how the bridge is going to be built between where they are and where they're supposed to be. It's going to be a dark. It's going to be a dark winter for them because
yeah.
I'm not here. I'm not building the bridge. They
No.
have to figure it out. They have to figure it out. But like what's happening is it's almost like this golem, there's the golem curse. Whatever this golem is has been broken and now the golem work for us. And
Yeah.
I don't know how that's going to look like or function, but I think by the end of this winter, it's going to be very clear that now instead of the golem finding these bright, beautiful, angelic beings and trying to destroy them, they're now going to serve them. They're now
Right.
going to support them. They're going to empower them. And can you imagine how spectacular that's going to be when finally we have the aligned angelic beings being provided for? But the thing is, at the same time, though, is how do these angelic beings manage that responsibility? Because that's a whole other can of worms. It's because it's one thing to be an angelic being, and it's another thing to manage the responsibility of being seen, being followed, being felt, and not falling prey to the the misaligned ways.
I think that's where rituals come into play. So like I said, I spent all of 2024 engaged in very, very, very routine rituals, like the new moons and the full moons that I was doing, and we were doing some other stuff that was very, and the calendar. I mean, we haven't talked about the calendar in a long time, but the calendar as well. The calendar is what dictates the rituals. And so getting the rituals aligned with the calendar is basically what's going to keep them in line, because that's how I'm charting my days out. Like I had said at the beginning of this lunar year that I was going to do the uh I don't even, the Chinese 28-day cycle, the Chinese lunar mansion cycle. I was going to follow that with the white tiger of the north, the red bird of the south, the blue dragon of the east, and the black tortoise of the north, I was going to do a ritual candle because I already have this whole thing set up. I was going to do a ritual candle for them every single cycle, which is a 7-day cycle, for how many? I say for 3 months, until I was like sure I understood how the energy worked. So this is probably the third month now. And now I have an understanding of how the energy works. So I need to do probably, and so by the time this winter is over, I will have this part of it down pat. So this is another product I was planning on selling, but I was like, I'm not selling this until I can tell people when to start it. Like, you have to know what cycle this thing is lined up with. And I'm basically just now figured out which, because even on my calendar, there's 3 or 4 different lunar cycles. So just saying the lunar cycle is not explaining what's going on. So I think I finally figured it out which one this is related to, literally just recently. And if it's true, what I figured out, then it'll be, this is going to be much smoother. So then I'll know how to make the candles. I know how to make them the right way. I already got the stickers. Boom, that's another product. So I talked to you, I think, in the passion thing about diversifying my products and all that stuff. Like, this is a part of, again, stuff that I started in 2022 when I was transitioning from being you know, just a spiritual person who like, so I was spiritual but it was like a side thing, to being a full-time spiritual person. Like, this is like rounding out that circle, just like getting my website done, like the things that I did finished up before the 9 year started was exactly what you would need as a foundation for this uh, um, for this 9 year. So now I'm going back again and revisiting things that I did, even starting this podcast and this whole thing, these whole talks. This has also been a part of it. This is something that started right around the solstice. And so, like, all of this stuff is tied into whatever is coming moving forward. I can definitely see that the importance of being able to have these kind of conversations and then continuing them, and not, letting this kind of like just trail off because, oh, things start going good or whatever. Like, that's not even a possibility in my mind. Like, no, this is, the show's going to go on. This is that important. And so there's a lot of things like that. And this is one of the things I wanted to do again in 2022. I had a whole list of stuff that I wanted to do, and I sent it to different people, and I tried to get different people involved, and they were like, they really wasn't interested in it because they didn't want to. Again, they had those golem tags on them, so the golem tags got the information to whoever, and they basically just tried to block everything that I wanted to do, stuff that I knew that would make money, stuff that I knew that would, change the trajectory of the way things were going, was basically all just blocked. And so I was like, dang, this is really crazy. Like, I've never had anything like this happen. But that's because, again, I didn't have enough spiritual protection. And number two, I was dealing with all these golems that were literally just siphoning information off of me so that they could try to do it themselves. Another thing I just saw, a guy that I used to follow, that I don't even follow anymore, now he's building a radio empire. I'm like, that's what I was working on. Like, why do these people got to steal everything? Like, this man was basically a podcaster, an interviewer. He's good at that. Why branch out into what I'm doing? Like, he's a rapper. I'm not out here like, yeah, I'm about to be a rapper. That would be nuts. Like, totally insane. So what is going on here? This is the kind of stuff that just like, it blows my mind, because all they can do is steal. They cannot do any innovation on their own. And me being an ideas person, it's like, if the exits weren't sealed so that these people couldn't just basically, like you were talking about earlier, come into the inner court and ransack it, then I mean, I would be without any ideas, but every day I have a new idea, a new layer of depth to add to what I want to do and how I want it to look, which I haven't had the capacity to dream this big in a long time. But it makes sense because this is the 9 year and this is the first year. And oh, the reason why you keep beating people up, 9 is related to Mars. I'm sorry. I knew I forgot to say something. 9 is related to Mars. And remember, I said before, Mars had a almost 6 month retrograde in Cancer. And now Jupiter is in Cancer in retrograde. So this is like not a coincidence. This is, inviting that dark feminine very close into our inner court, our personal selves, to work with us and to guide us now with the information of Mars, because that long retrograde, and now Jupiter. And Mars is related to like your willpower, your inner strength, that kind of thing, battles, offensive battles, and Jupiter is related to wealth and abundance. So those energies have been stored up to now bring us this information to move forward.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's beautiful. I love it. I think we
Yeah.
can. Do you want to
So
end it here?
yeah, that's good because I'm sure we'll have to talk about this golem magic some more. I got to do some more research, but I think this is a good place to end and also a good start of the information because it is a lot, and I know it's going to be a lot now that we talked about it.
Yeah, and I'm very interested in basically. I think we're co-opting the golems. Like I think the whole
Yeah,
infrastructure that they built to control and create these golem, like we can basically just take it over because we're the ones in control now, and through that infrastructure we can rehabilitate the golem back into like who they are. Because I think like if we see them as just humans, because that's okay, I think that was the big issue with me in the past with being so fixated on the light, was I saw everyone as human with morals, with morality, like with passion, or at least that's what, looking back, I saw people as. And so
right,
I just assumed, well, if I show them the way via how I act, how I function with love, they're going to be inspired to embrace it. But obviously they didn't, because they're golem. And because they're
right,
golem, like their ability to comprehend that and to be inspired by it and to embrace it and follow it is basically non-existent. It doesn't
right,
exist in their core being. So now with the dark, what I'm doing is I'm hammering the golem to such intense, and especially I'm taking out like the leaders, in terms of
right,
the leaders in my reality, like the leaders of the golem that dared come to me. I am now, because obviously, like the more powerful we are, the more powerful the more devious types of golem enter our reality. And
right,
these are the ones that try to co-opt us, take us over, destroy us, this,
right,
that. So it's very important for me to like savagely break them down, to destroy their golem state and wake them up to then serve me. And as they are serving me, um like all of the basically I will learn how to uh manage the golem. And so
right,
we go from having all these zombies to that are um, serving these wicked people that are uh, enacting their wicked ways, to then now they're serving us and they're
right,
serving God. And as they're serving
right,
God, they're elevating and they're healing and they're being empowered. And then out of nowhere, they're not golem anymore. They're humans. And
right,
because they're humans, they have morals. And because they have morals, they have passion. And that's where eventually heading, where now we have humans that are in alignment, and when the humans are in alignment, especially when we have a enough numbers of them, we got control. We got the physical infrastructure necessary for the empire to truly blossom.
And then we back that up with the paperwork, which solidifies them as a human. Um, one of the citizens under the Constitution and all of that stuff with the paperwork, and because right now the positions, all of the positions that they created with all this paperwork is all vacant. That's the reason why we have the opportunity to change the contract, because the positions were never filled. And so I think I said this the other day, most of my paperwork is just telling them that I am filling the role. Like, there is someone filling the role, and it's me, the living person. And so from a technical side, like on the emotional side, obviously we bring them into their authenticity. That's the lowest vibration of this top tier. We bring them into their authenticity as a human, because even if they aren't, their soul isn't a human soul, they're still in a human body. So therefore, they're human. Like, I always, it always just trips me up when people try to like separate it out. But if they're in a human body right now, then that means they're a human. So we have to confirm the reality. Remember, perception is reality. They want us to believe, no, 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 what you are in your soul is who you are. No, if in my soul I'm a middle-aged white man, that's a lie. Like, we have to confirm the reality. I am a black woman, okay? Not a middle-aged white man with a bald spot, okay? I'm a black woman. I have to confirm that reality. And so that's what we have to do for these people. Confirm the reality. They are beautiful. They are smart. They are amazing. That's the affirmations of what is real. Like, period. Like, this other stuff that these people be doing is just like so weird. It's so horrible. And so when we take that concept of, the authenticity, the passion, the morality, the upper echelon of these emotions, of our emotional system, and we really tie it into who the person is, affirming the reality of the person, and then we further tie it down by putting it on paper, then we're covering they are covered in multiple realms and multiple dimensions. You know what I mean? It again, it limits the possibility for them coming, for someone to be able to get into their energy. So even if they do have, as they do this paperwork or a reading or whatever, as they have like this information imparted into them, this makes it so that whatever golem tags or whatever stuff they have on them, it basically don't have nowhere to go. So it has to be removed, because the tag is assigned to a person based on their energy. And if their energy changes because they change their mind, then they're no longer the person they were when that tag was assigned to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't know, sometimes those things get a little bit esoteric. So, and that's how we also can rehabilitate them. So as they come into the empire and say, oh, you got work for me to do, yeah, go and do this, go and do that, go and do this, go and do that. They are piece by piece, by hearing us talk about certain things over and over. Like me, I'm now, my whole thing, perception is reality. Perception is reality. Believe your eyes. Your eyes are not lying to you. Like, there was a whole thing to get people to think that their eyes were lying to them. No, your eyes are not lying to you. Perception is reality, and confirming that reality to people so that they will stop like saying, well, my eyes are my lying eyes. No, your eyes aren't lying. Your eyes are not lying. Like, just believe what you see with your eyes. That's how, and you don't have to believe it, see it to believe it, because that's a totally different statement. But what you do see, believe what you see. Like, don't ignore that, because these weird, golem creators believe that if you can see with your eyes that Bill Clinton got an issue, There's like, you don't have to ignore that. Like, clearly he's got an issue. Or Joe Biden, like, this man was sniffing babies. Like, that's not normal. So if you can see it with your eyes, then you probably should believe it and stop ignoring it, because the media is telling you, oh, your eyes are lying to you. I'm the arbiter of truth, right? I'm the only one who knows the real truth, so I'm the only one qualified to tell you if you can believe what you believe. So as we cut that, energetically, all of these weird like things are removed from the culture, because like the parasite equity, they're just being rejected. um it'll be much easier to convert people. So we, at some point, we do have to talk again about conversion and evangelizing and all of that, because it goes together. They're only going to be evangelized if they hear the message. So we have to amplify our message to the masses and make it, like you said, like, um appropriate bite-sized pieces, so that we can literally convert these people en masse, and we don't have to do one by one like you always talking about. No, it don't have to be one by one. It can be hundreds, thousands of people at a time that convert, or revert their citizenship to the empire. And it wouldn't, it's, again, it's not even a long process. It's just the Holy Spirit has to touch them. But we are the hands and the feet of the Holy Spirit. So it has to be through our works and through our actions that gets the job done.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Yeah, and I think at least the phase that we're in, it's really important to stay as like agile and really in many ways
Yep.
as small as possible. I'm not interested in, oh, we need as many people as possible following us. We need 10,000, 1,000, 100,000. The more that listen to us, the better, because our power is in the energetic realm, and as we are
Right.
experiencing, as we're seeing reality, like it's conforming to us. So what we're doing is,
But I think we're going through the conversion though, meaning it's being drawn out from the spiritual realm into the physical realm.
yeah,
Because once you have abundance, like physical abundance, it's not just spiritual anymore.
yeah, right. Yeah, I guess, yeah, we'll see.
You sound sad.
I don't know. I'm just
I
like,
know that sound. I
it's
know it.
just for
It's
me, like, obviously I know where it's headed, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. It's just people are just like, the more people that start to join, like, it's the growing pains, because the growing pains is where, like, it's, yeah, I don't really know what I'm trying to say, but it's
I
like
know what you're
it's,
trying
I
to
don't know, it
say.
just, it
Once we
tries to, it
bring in,
starts diluting shit. And obviously it's like, obviously it has to grow. I mean, it's an empire, so we're gonna have a ton of people. But like these golem, they, like, the dilution is gonna be intense. It's like managing this dilution.
I don't think it's. I think it would be intense if you had to do it, or if I had to do it. But remember, my friend is the one that is the people wrangler. So I'm not worried about that part, because I know that that's her part, and it's not my part, and it's not your part. So you have to also like understand like what's your part
Yeah, right,
and what's
right.
not your part. So I'm not worried about it, because I know that's her part, and so I'm like, whew, good thing I don't have to worry about that. Let me just focus on the part that I do have control over. But because I've talked to her about the fact, hey, you have to be able to identify people who are like you, so that we can recruit those people to work individually with these people, because it's going to be a lot of people. Like, what we're talking about is going to be a huge influx of people, and no, everyone's not going to be able to like get in on these extremely esoteric conversations, but that means we have to have less esoteric ones. But I can't have a less esoteric conversation. Maybe you can. I actually don't have that capacity. So that means I have to train somebody who can speak in plain terms to talk to people who understand plain terms. So again, I'm in my mind, I'm already building out the infrastructure that's going to handle the part that I'm responsible for, because I know that there's no way I'm way too complicated. Like, I can get in there for social proof, like bring me in to talk to people when they want to talk about how I got the money, or why, what my why is, or that kind of very general thing. But like, to talk to people about, like, they're working a job that they hate, they're married to somebody who's a horrible person, like, don't, I can't do that. That's not in my wheelhouse. So I'm not accepting that responsibility, because I know it's not for me. So, but I do have to have someone on my team that is good with those kind of mundane things. And so I'm identifying people in my reality that can do that. And so that's probably like the approach that you have to take. You have to identify your own personal weaknesses and find people in your reality that um that can handle those weaknesses and what you're around. So as the emperor, you're in charge of, like, maintaining the morale of the people, which means you have to, basically be in a cheerful mood, but you also have to be very serious about protection and those kind of things. So once you figure out, like, what things you really like and what things you're really good at, like, they bring me in to teach the paperwork. That's my thing. Like, I can talk anybody through their understanding on the paperwork. They can ask as many questions. I'm gonna have answers for all of them. I'm not like these other people who don't have answers for this stuff. But somebody who's crying, okay, how much do I need to write the check for? Like, I don't know what to tell you, because I would love to give you some other advice, but my advice is going to be stop crying, because you need to just make the decision. You know what I mean? So that's not, that has to,
Yes,
you know what I mean?
yes,
That's got to go to
exactly.
somebody who's good
Right.
for that kind of thing, because it's not me. Like, I know
Yes.
that it's not me. You know what I mean? So that's how you have to
Right.
start energetically building out your inner temple structure. Like me, I know I want a house manager. I want a this man. I already got it written down. And then I wrote down who's going to be on their teams. And I'm identifying people that I know that have the energy for that. And that way, if the person that I want can't do it, I know what energy I want for that. So I'm literally identifying the people I want on my team as my team, starts to come together, so that I can focus on what I have to focus on, and I can have them do some of the stuff that I can't focus on. So that's how I'm building it out energetically. I've already started thinking about this and writing it down and making an organizational structure and a template thing and all of that. That's how my brain works. So I'm not saying your brain works like mine, but that's what I would be thinking about, how you want your inner team to work. Like, what does a king have? They have an assistant, like like an assistant that just kind of like fills in the gaps and can do everything that you can do, but they're not you. But they could indeed go off and become a version of you. So that would be, I don't know, like whatever you call the title. Then you have a person who is keeping track of, like, your personal numbers, like, oh, you're doing this, we've got this many number of people in the kingdom, this many people are doing like that kind of, like a statistician type person. Then you have a person that's keeping an eye on the astrology, because as a ruler you have to be keeping an eye on the astrology. You don't want to decide, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z on this day, and that's really a horrible day to do that. Now, it's not that these people work alone, because obviously we all be working together, but those are kind of things, like those are kind of things you keep an eye on, like to make sure that all this, like everything that's going to allow you to just sit back and be the king or the emperor, that's what you need. And so you have to figure out what that is for you.
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, that's what cuz I was still thinking of the I'm doing everything me. Like,
Right.
because we've had to do everything by ourselves. So it was like, oh wow, yeah, as this gets big, like I just, this is just what's gonna happen. But now that how you how you replied is exactly like kind of what I have to start thinking now is, okay, like what does my court look like? What
Right.
what positions? Who's involved? Um, because yeah, a lot of the people that right now are getting like direct beatings from me that, I'm not even interested. Like it's how I know that these
Yeah, you're
people are
supposed to
gonna
have
stick
somebody else
around.
do that.
Yes, and how I know that these people are supposed to stick around is that they keep staying, like they keep showing up energetically in my reality. That's how I know
Mm.
that they're supposed to play, and they do play a very important role in the empire. If they didn't, like if they didn't come up, they don't exist in my reality.
Right.
So putting this in mind, it's like, okay, when they come back, but not only just them, but when people start arriving, what's that structure going to look like?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
Exactly. So
Because
hopefully
I
this
do have a
helps them.
tendency to do what one, I have a tendency to do everything, and two, I have a tendency to take on people's burdens. Like it's
Yeah.
like I start doing the work for them. It's I don't know what is this automatic thing, but it's like if I'm not consciously aware, out of nowhere, I just end up taking people's baggage. And the thing is,
Yeah.
I don't mind doing it because I could fucking do it. But the thing is, they have to do it.
Right.
It's because if they don't do it themselves, like basically I'm just flexing. When I do their work, I'm just flexing on them that like, hey, I did it. But
Right.
they didn't do it. They
Right.
just temporarily feel good because, oh, I don't got to deal with it anymore because he's dealing with it. But when I leave, when I'm not there to carry the burden, they feel the intense procrastination that they allow to come about.
Right. That's where you need protection, you know. You have to think about your personal spiritual protection because that's what people always try to. I saw a picture, that whole thing with JD and Erica Kirk where she had her hand in his hair, and it's just kind of like they said like the woman's natural inclination is to claw. And so there's another video with Trump, and Nancy Mace was like reaching in for a hug with her hand, and he like moves her hand out the way to give her some kind of other like recognition. And it's like you have to automatically be like that, where if somebody is reaching in to claw you, like you already know how you're going to respond to that. And it could be like, okay, what does a
Yeah, like
king
get
do?
off, pussy.
I mean, you can say that, but like most of the time with kings, no one is allowed to enter the court without notice. Meaning, people
Uh-huh.
aren't
Right,
allowed
right.
to contact you unless they already have pre-authorization. So you're not just
Uh-huh.
randomly interacting with new people who don't know the procedures for interacting with you. So that you're not just randomly picking up energy from all these weird people. Like those are the kind of things that you have to think about. Like I don't answer calls of people I don't know. I just refuse to. And so I've been like that for a long time though. I also don't answer everyone's call. If I can, I do it to the best of my ability. But if somebody is calling me that I haven't talked to in 8 years and they're just randomly calling me, no, I'm probably not going to get back to you. Because why are you calling me? Like even if you text me, you don't tell me what you need. I'm trying to figure out if I have time, if for your energy. 9 times out of 10, because these people, they bring their weird energy with them, and like I don't have time for dealing with people with weird energy. And so I'd be like, like a girl called me like right before this year started, like in September, and I was like, why is she calling me? Like what does she need? And she never actually got to what it is that she wanted, but she always called it like the worst time, which is also a clear sign. Like if
Hmm.
sometimes every time someone calls is the worst possible time because I'm busy or whatever. Like I have another friend I don't talk to super often, but whenever she calls, it's the perfect time to talk. It's like, oh, I don't have anything going on. I can absolutely talk. But if people keep calling over and over and it's always a wrong time, like I'm busy or whatever, it's just a distraction, I'm like, yeah, something is going on here. Why is this person always calling when I'm in the middle of doing like something else? It's very, very weird. And then I also have to make sure I'm not just being weird and saying I don't feel like talking to anybody because that's not appropriate either. So there's a fine balance, but like with the king, oh no. You don't just let everybody walk into your office. You don't let everybody into your energy. Even people you knew previously, they still have to get permission from whoever your assistant is to come into your energy. You have a schedule to maintain. And so you can't just let people wander, bounce in and out of your energy because they feel like it.
Uh-huh. Yep. And that's what I've been learning this year
Yeah.
is like having very, very intense boundaries and energetically like just what's it called? Like let them like what is it? Energetically like kick them out of the court. It's like, no,
Yeah.
no, like you ain't coming in. You're not and also inviting people in.
Right.
Um because what I'm intimidating in general, like energetically, there's
Right.
definitely a pretty intense intimidation that I bring forth, which I think is why for so long I was like overly open and inviting
Right.
because it's like, oh wow, so another human that has found like interest in me. Like let's see what they want.
Right.
Like let's explore what they're looking
Right.
for.
Right. Like you
Um
want someone who's not weird. Okay. Who doesn't think that I'm totally nuts. All right, yeah, what's going on?
yeah,
What you
what's
talking
up? Like,
about?
okay, you must be smart somehow. Like there must be
Right.
something smart within you if you came to me. But
Right,
now
exactly.
it's like state your business. Like what's up? What's going on? But
Right.
um
I
at the
would say
same
that.
time, it's like I don't need any of these people, so it's like they better be coming extra correct. And if they don't come
Right.
extra correct, like, okay, I will still answer. Sometimes, obviously, it depends on the situation, but I'll still answer. I will still respond. And once that's over, uh, energy disconnected, and I keep moving forward. Because what
Right.
ends up happening, I've noticed, especially with women, is they create all sorts of like fairy tales. They think that I'm their soulmate. They think that I'm this. They think that I'm that. They think that I'm playing games. They think that I'm, subliminally tweeting messages to them,
Oh my gosh.
telepathic this, like it's only getting. I've noticed it's only getting more intense. And so um, managing this type of like these types of delusions. I mean, because I mean, this is what a celebrity deals with.
Right.
Celebrity got all these fanboys and fangirls like literally like worshiping them.
Right.
And it's like, how do you manage that? How do you manage these people that clearly don't have enough love for themselves, that are inspired to love another, but they do it in a way where it's it gets almost a little scary, where it's
Right.
like, I don't know what you're capable of doing.
Right.
Like, like relax, come back into equilibrium.
Right.
um
There's not really an
so
easy way to deal with that. You just have to, again, create space. That's really the answer. Like, you can't stop people from doing this, engaging in this kind of behavior. And also, you don't want to because you want people to decide to change their life because they interacted with you. So it's just about, creating space, making it so that you're not like super accessible to everybody all the time. The best kings are not, they listen to their subjects, but they're not necessarily accessible. They interact with them in a way that is appropriate. And that's something that you just have to set your boundaries. Like, what is normal for you and what's not normal for you. So what does Trump do? He retweets his supporters memes. That's basically the most you're going to get from Trump. You're not going to get, like, he might bring you in and give you a hat, but 9 times out of 10 he's just going to tweet you. And when he has a thing that might be relevant to whatever it is you're talking about, he might bring you in. That's about it. But that's as far as basically he really goes. And so this is the kind of, you have to look at how other leaders do it. Let me put it that way. Especially other popular leaders who are popular amongst the people, not these leaders who are not popular.
Yep, makes sense. Awesome. Okay, great. Yeah, I think this, as always, a great spaces.
Absolutely.
A lot to think about. Definitely on when it comes to the structure of my own court, I have to. That's very important to lay out, and I would recommend. We all do that.
Oh yeah.
We all do that in our life because, um, especially those that like are taking this journey and what we're doing seriously. Like as this expands, as this empire grows, those closest to it are also elevating rapidly.
Right.
And so it's literally like a rags to riches overnight success type of vibe where go from nobody believing in you to now having hordes of people
Right.
seeking you,
Right.
looking for you, trying to support you, trying to benefit off of you. Like just people surrounding you in a way that has never been done, in a way that hasn't been shown before. So by beginning the preparation of how is this going to be managed and how to manage it, the transition energetically from the previous state to the present state is going to be much smoother because the energy is able to travel through kind of that initial infrastructure that one has built out.
Right.
And then with the darkness and Diana, like that's definitely a very big thing.
Right.
Is honoring the dark, embracing the dark, doing a lot of that inner healing to not have remorse, not
Right.
have anger, not have grudges, because to properly wield the dark demands us to be like very to be functioning from a state of wholeness.
Right.
It has to be from wholeness.
Right.
And when we are whole, in many ways, we're at least I think we're forced to forgive everyone and everything.
Right.
Because how can we not forgive others and say that we are whole?
Right. You
Like
can't.
I
It's impossible.
yeah, so that's I think a lot of the work that a lot of us are doing, and I think in particular the feminine, whether
Yeah.
it's women or just the feminine energy themselves, which obviously impacts men as well, is we are coming to grips with that aspect of ourselves in terms of forgiving ourselves, and in which case it means also obviously forgiving like others, everyone around us, to be cleansed, to be able to fully embrace the dark in the way that is aligned and not in a distorted way.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's a lot of work. That's all I can say. It's
Uh-huh.
a lot of work. It's not. This ain't easy in these spiritual streets. So everybody should take it easy on themselves. Give yourself a lot of grace. We're learning this for the first time this lifetime. So don't feel bad if it's taking you longer to figure it out than other people. It's not really. Most people most people are starting, they think they're starting at zero, but it's only because they don't know themselves well enough. If they knew themselves better based on their chart and just a wide variety of things, they would be able to see where they're really starting from. And that's what helped me in 2022 when I really dug into my chart and figured out where I was starting from and what I was starting with, including my ancestors and all that stuff. it was much easier for me to proceed. And then again, I didn't neglect when these different energies came up that I wasn't familiar with to figure out what they were and how I could be respectful of them. I always say, you know, these energies are um how did I describe it? It's like we're not supposed to worship them, but that doesn't mean we can't work with them. Like we're supposed to work with these different entities. So I mean, how could you not work with them? But that doesn't mean that you have to worship them and fall at their, you know, their feet, and also make deals with them that require sacrifices, because it doesn't work like that. Like the sacrifices are unnecessary. You know, they don't need what we need. Mostly right now, they just need they need attention and energy. And if you give them attention and energy, that's going to go really, really far, because these entities have been so disrespected and so ignored that they really just need someone to pay attention to them and to be reasonable with them. And the way you can learn how to be reasonable with an entity is to be reasonable with yourself and not
Mm.
overdo it with yourself. So the way you treat yourself is the way you're going to treat these entities. So if you treat yourself with respect, you'll treat these entities with respect. And that's all really that will, again, if people are just good, if they're just good people, all this stuff comes easy.
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll talk again on Friday about something. Hopefully, you'll get a warning this time. I didn't even. This came out of left field again. I think that happens a lot in the dark energy. Stuff just comes out of left field. It's like, what? What was that? Is that where did this even come from? I'm telling you, I hadn't even thought about the word golem before today.
Wow.
Not in over a year, probably maybe 2 years. So this was way out of left field for me. But again, the the high priestess brings the information. She's like, "This is it." Okay, all right. I'm gonna dig into it like that. So that when you made that sound earlier, I was like, "Oh, that was me earlier when she told me I have to read these 2 books about this stuff that I didn't even know was important until this morning." So we all have to do stuff we don't want to. Oh, so sad. So okay, well then I'll talk with you on Friday.
Okay, awesome. Great talking to you. Thank you everyone for joining, for listening, and hope everyone has a great week.
Have a great week, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.